Hey, you, welcome back. It is finally time for the review, the movie review. Before I start, let's just say Bharat Mata Ki Jai. And I have been at a loss for words. I have actually been in a processing state, 1%, 2%, 3%. My processing bar was like moving very slowly since I watched the movie, to be very honest. But theek hai, we are here. We're going to begin this. I don't know how long this is going to be. I realized that my last review of part one, I kind of just went through whatever we saw in the movie and then related it to my personal life and moved scene by scene from there. And I think that's the only way I know how to do this. So that's what's going to happen here. This movie was a lot longer. It was a lot more detailed. There was so much in it to process. And before I start doing the entire review, I just want to say that this is not a movie. It's so much more than a movie. It's a seismic event, and nothing's going to be the same after. That's all I have to kind of summarize this moment with, because I think Aditya Dhar knew exactly what he was doing, exactly what he was getting himself into, exactly what his intended vision and reason was behind making a movie like this, writing scenes like these, making characters like these, the dialogues, the events that are shown, everything. Like, you can tell that this man knew that ab bahut ho gaya bullshit movies mein, like bahut ho gaya. And agar एक साइड के लोग, एक आइडियोलॉजी के लोग इतने डेकेड से हमें चीजें दिखाते जा रहे हैं, वाइट वॉश करते जा रहे हैं कितनी चीजों को, और वो फेक इंटेंट से और मैसेजिंग के साथ पैकेज करके बकवास परोसे जा रहे हैं, तो अब enough of that. Let's learn the art of filmmaking and learn the art in the most nerdiest, geekiest, technically brilliant way as possible, and then we will set things right. And that's exactly what he's done, because I didn't know anything about Aditya Dhar before Uri, right? And then even after Uri, I had already disconnected from Bollywood well before Uri even released, right? I think the last nice movie I had seen was Masan, and then I was just like, I'm done. But then along came Uri when I lived in Delhi, and I was head of programming at one of the radio stations there. And because I had interviewed Vicky after Masan, I kind of messaged him, and I was like, my God, Uri is blowing up. And it was his first big commercial success as a lead actor. And unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to meet him and interview him after Uri. But I was like, who is this director, and who has done this this like full of realism wala depiction of what happened? Because no other war movie or armed forces movie had done justice to the action, to the emotion, to the soul of what the armed forces kind of feel and go through. And anyway, this was it's the first of its kind, clap back and hit back. And I did wonder at that time. Basically, what I'm coming to is, I did wonder, but then I kind of moved on, and but every time I want to feel the Josh, I go back to Uri, and it's available on YouTube. It's the whole movie is up there for you to watch whenever you want. And I think that's a brilliant thing that they've done. It's free for all. Go on YouTube and watch it. And so that was the first time I wondered, who is this guy, Aditya Dhar? And then all I knew about him is that he's a Kashmiri Pandit, and it's his first film as a director. So I left it at that. And now, after watching Dhurandhar 1 and 2, of course, I've seen other work that he's produced and done along the way. But with this particular film, part 2, with the revenge, as the scenes kept progressing and as the dialogues kept being spoken, I was like, oh my God, this is another level of how do I put this? This is another level of when someone is subtly like poking you to wake up. That's what he was doing. Because yes, we will go over all the main scenes. Like, we will go over the Atif Ahmed, we will go over the demonetized. We will go over all the real life events that happened, but beyond that, in the subtext were things and events and that the BS that is present in our lives and around us and in our society and in our world that need to be highlighted and just talked about. It may have been done in passing, but he made sure that they were done, they were highlighted, they were talked about. Anyway, we'll go over all of that. I just want to say that Aditya Dhar is, there's, you can tell why he starts the movie with a shlok from the Gita, because he understands his dharmic duty, and he has taken it upon himself to perform the karma and then not be attached to the phal and to, um, play his part, basically. So love it. That being said, I will get back to this entire bit of the conversation at the end. But let's dive right in. We saw again the movie starts with the Gita ka shlok, and we are reminded that we need not be attached to the fruits of our actions. The only thing in our control is our karma, and that's it. And you have to fight the good fight because it's your dharmic duty, right? That's what the movie begins with. It ends with Balidan Parmo Dharm. We'll come to that. But again, I just can't help it, but I have to, right at the start, salute the people who live by that motto. We can never be thankful enough to them. So now let's talk about the movie. We were so moved in part one because a lot of us have lived through all those events and felt the anger, frustration, and helplessness and everything. And I feel like when I walked out of the movie, I've seen it twice now. So let me just tell you my experience as I saw it. When I walked in, it was first day it was 19th morning, 11 a.m. And I probably first day, second show hoga, but I knew something big is gonna happen in the movie. And I didn't expect it to be so much. I didn't expect it to be so brutal. I didn't expect it to be so gory. And I enjoyed all of that for the first time in my life. I did not complain about any of the gore because I was, that's the thing. I heard someone say in one of their interviews, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Ram Gopal Varma. Revenge is a very, no, not him, someone else from the South, a director from the South. Anyway, I don't remember the name. They said revenge is a very powerful emotion, especially when you've been wronged, right? And all of us on some level in our lives have been wronged somewhere, sometime on a macro and micro level. So when the time comes for revenge, you're gonna feel it, man. You're gonna be in it. You're gonna be in the story with the character. So I didn't know what to expect. And throughout the movie, I don't know if you follow me on Instagram, but I didn't want to reveal any spoilers. So I just put one of my chats with my friend who was like, how was it? And I just sent him a GIF and I said, this was me throughout the movie. I was literally like that's it. Like I was just wide-eyed in shock or just going like 90% of the movie went like that in shock. And 10% was just sitting like this angry at whatever was happening. So I have to also tell you, like I mentioned in the trailer reaction, I wanted to book recliner seats because I was like, 4 ghante ki movie hai, I need to sit comfortably. I did not recline at all. So let me just tell you, that was money wasted on a recliner because I did not have the opportunity to recline. My body would not allow me. Like reflex, I could not sit back. I was like this. I was leaning forward, my elbows on my knees, and I was watching like this throughout. So that happened. And then obviously I learned my lesson. So the second screening, I was like, yeah, no need for the recliner. But the second screening, I told you guys on Instagram, my plan was Thursday ko dekhte hai movie, Friday ko review record karenge after I've had the whole day to process on Thursday. Clearly not enough. And then I will release on Saturday or Sunday the review after editing. But no, I immediately posted because as soon as I walked out of the theater after 4 hours, I was like, I need to go back right in and watch it again. That was the most like overpowering feeling and thought I had as soon as I walked out. And that's all I posted because by the time I walked out, people had messaged me because I had posted saying, see you guys on the other side. I had DM saying, how was it? It's been 5 hours. It's been 4 hours. What is, first of all, I'm not going to spoil it for anyone. The only thought in my head was, I need to watch it again. And that's what I posted online. And then 2 घंटे तक मैं मॉल में ऐसे ही घूमती रही, like one bhatakti atma, because I was trying to process and I was not ready to go home yet, and I was just like, what just happened? कितना था इस मूवी में? So of course when I got home, I tried to book the next day's show again. कोई अच्छी seat नहीं थी. It was just first or second row. And then I was like, you know what? I watched it in a normal hall. Um, it was a PVR hall, but it wasn't like a large hall. It was that normal medium size hall. And I was like, I want to see it on a big like IMAX like screen because yeah, just have to. And then I realized the IMAX is in the same cinema. And then I it's also not the big IMAX hall, you know, with like it's like you feel like you're in a 3-story room. Anyway, whatever. I booked for IMAX on Saturday, and I'm glad I booked IMAX, and I'll tell you why. If you can watch it in IMAX, please watch it in IMAX because there was a distinct difference in the sound. Even a normal Dolby cinema hall in the same mall, same cinema, and then the IMAX hall, there was such a massive difference in the sound. I enjoyed the IMAX sound so much more. So that's that. But then I watched it Saturday morning, and then Sunday I was going to record my review, but then stuff happened. There was work going on at home, and फिर से Monday को वही हुआ और Tuesday को don't even get me started. Things have been happening. So I've not been able to record, but it's good because these 2-3 days that I was not able to record for external logistical reasons, I kept processing, and I don't still feel ready to talk about it, but we are here. We are here and we're going to go over everything, and I hope I don't miss anything. Again, disclaimer, this is going to be full of spoilers. So if you haven't watched the movie, go away. Jao dekh ke aao. Okay, let's get into it. First chapter, A Burnt Memory. Right, so we see the Gita ka shlok, chapter 1, and it is him and his family taking that picture. And that scene, the brilliance of Aditya Dhar, that scene just sums up everything you need to know about that family and their background. Everything you need to know. Just very calm, sweet, happy parents, 2 sisters. He's very close to the younger one, I think, who was standing next to him, and then the other one who is having a thing with the guy taking the photo. That got established. Like within seconds, things are getting established, and you're like, okay, that's the scene. Next thing, cut to Allahabad, UP. And I'm like, UP kyun aa gaye? Right? And then obviously him and his friend go on this trip to get the drugs and the guns. That was a shocker. Firstly, Mukesh Chhabra ji, hai na? He's the casting director. How has he cast the actors in this movie? I cannot. How has he found all these doppelgangers? So anyway, we get to this one. We see this character of Atif Ahmed. It says politician, gangster. You saw how they rotated the title. That happened, and my God, that man was scary. I've not followed all of this stuff in UP ka history and politics, right? So I honestly didn't know. Even though I'm from UP, I didn't know. All I know is that we were very happy as a family when Yogi ji came to power. But other than that, I didn't really know. All I knew is that whenever my mom tries to go to see her family in UP, it's been unsafe over the years. Once on the highways, they almost got looted. Um, and it's just not, this thing. We used to prefer going to Gujarat, which was where my dad's family was. But anyway, all that aside, so we see this guy, we see that whole interaction and him asking about Jaskirat, who, by the way, is following his friend into this house. But we're not seeing this like, his friend Pinda, he seems like this very, Haji, kya ho raha hai? He's very loud and he's very like a loud kid. But Jaskirat's body language and his face expression is not like he's not here to have fun. And he's not even on a jolly lala trip with his friend just to accompany him and see what is what. He's not in an amusement park. He is there with a purpose. And the whole time I was like, what's going on? Why is he looking like this? And they both are young, but only one seems to be having fun. Anyway, and then that whole thing like, oh yeah, army mein hai and all that happens. So theek hai. When they take the train back, that's where the first song happens. I'm not going to deep dive into the songs and how amazingly placed they were through the movie. Because I will do all of that in the album listening session, which is going to be next after this video. But here we had Dil Pe Zakham Khate Hain, Jaan Se Guzarte Hain playing in the background. He's taking the train to Punjab with his friend. And all the time I was wondering like, guns and drugs. Now, cut to, he's saying bye to his friend. And that is again now one of the best scenes. One of Ranveer, like there are so many Ranveer brilliance moments in this. I just can't with him, man. He is once in a generation kind of actor. And anyway, that scene, you can see the vulnerability and the fear and the anger and everything in his eyes, and the determination more than anything else, because what is he just about to do? He's planned it. He's already planned everything in his brain, where he's going to start from the top. He's going to work his way down into the house, and he's going to find his sister. And at this time, as audiences, we don't know what the hell is going on. Now, from the trailers, we are aware, because we see the shirt he's wearing, the striped one, and we know what he's about to do. And we've seen glimpses of the massacre he goes on with. But we still have not been told why he's doing this. You know what I mean? Like, Aditya Dhar could have told us well before कि इनके साथ हुआ क्या है और ये क्यों यहाँ आ गए हैं इलाहाबाद ये सब सामान लेने. पर नहीं, उन्होंने हमें सस्पेंस में रखा. उन्होंने कुछ बताया नहीं. This is why I really like how you are not spoon feeding your audience everything, and sequentially you kind of make things pop at you later. Anyway, I love that style. But so his friend now is emotional. They are hugging it out. They know they might not see each other again, and this guy is gonna like either be killed or be jailed for the rest of his life for what he's about to do. And he's like, "Yaar, tujhe, army ka afsar bante hue dekhna tha," and everything. And then that dialogue, just very. When I thought about it later, I was like, "Oh, foreshadowing." Like the whole thing, the whole movie, there's so much foreshadowing for things happening. He says, "ये जन्म family के लिए है और अगला जन्म अगर वाहिगुरु की कृपा हुई तो देश की सेवा करूंगा. पहला जन्म जसकीरत, दूसरा जन्म हमजा." I mean, Aditya Dhar and the dialogue writers just loved it. So he kind of is trying to establish here कि मैंने अपनी पहली लाइफ एज जसकीरत अपनी फैमिली को दे दी और वहां पे वो खत्म हो गई, और फिर मैं दूसरी लाइफ देश को देने वाला हूँ हम एज हमजा, एंड whatever I do after in my second life. Beautiful. Love that line. And now that entire fight scene begins with him saying, "Kahan hai meri behan?" And he kills the first guy on the rooftop. Ari Ari starts as he starts making his way down. I do not know. Obviously, everything was very well rehearsed, and mad props to the fight directors, right? The action directors who were working on this film. I don't know their names, but I believe it was a team from Korea. They have rehearsed and choreographed everything like I can't. So while you are doing that, as an actor, as Ranveer, you are also emoting over here and in your eyes. And I was the first time in the movie, I was just absorbing all of it and just watching it. Like the second watch, I was like, holy crap, this guy, he's still a young boy. He's not yet like a man, right? But he knows what it is to avenge his family. And he is, you can see more than anything, the determination in his eyes. There's a bit of fear as well. There's a bit of that adrenaline rush that he's feeling, the anger, and just this like fierce Rodra roop of his, right? Which keeps intermingling with his, like, when you're that angry and you're fighting with someone, or you're putting your full jaan into it, you sometimes also feel like you're gonna cry, you're just gonna burst into tears, you're gonna break down. Those moments were also reflecting on his face. Like that moment where that dagger almost hits him, it gets caught in the cupboard, but it almost sliced his throat. My God, the action choreographers. And then how he turns the guy around and puts his neck on that knife. And then उसको उसी hammer से उसका सर उसने फाड़ दिया. Like, oh my God. And उसके बाद जो दूसरा आदमी आया उस room में, and then every time he was screaming, "कहाँ है मेरी बहन?" See, like, who? Like, I'm getting emotional talking about it. Every time he was screaming that dialogue, and that's pretty much the only dialogue he kept screaming throughout that fight scene, there was so much fucking anger and so much like, I need to find my sister, the desperation and everything he's doing, killing these people and like ruthlessly butchering them. He's doing it out of this desperation to find his sister. And it was just so fucking raw. And as he mouths that dialogue the first time, you're just like, oh shit, they've kidnapped his sister. That's the first thing that hit me when he killed the first guy on the roof, the MLA. Then as he kept killing everyone and asking the same question, I just kept getting angrier and angrier for him. Like second-hand anger was happening, right? And so after he kills this guy with the hammer, oh my God, I just like close my eyes. Then he's pointing a gun into this guy's eyes, right? And the guy doesn't answer. Kahan hai uski behan? So he shoots him like right there. And you're that close. You're that close and you're shooting someone. Can you imagine the rage? And then when these two killings happen in that one room, you can see his body language then change. Then he's just like shoving things and he's just in this adrenaline rush. Like now he's unstoppable. Now you don't want to come in front of him. So that happened, and I was like, now he's not gonna be able to stop. It's gonna get worse, and that's exactly what happened. So he, by the way, that whole scene of him falling, this was right at the start when after he killed the first guy, him and that other guy fell, right? Imagine that showed us that fuck, he's not very prepared. He's not very prepared. So Aditya Dhar removed that entire thing of, dude, he's invincible. Because इधर थोड़ा वो 2 या 5 इंच हुआ होता तो वो भी वहीं गिरता जहाँ पे वो दूसरा आदमी गिरा था and died on the spot, because he was literally, there was just this much of a wall in between and he fell on this side and that guy fell right down and died. So right there, Aditya Dhar removed this whole like our hero is invincible and nothing will happen to him and he has planned this whole thing out with precision. No, he established right there that this guy is just there. He's still a kid. He's just filled with rage and anger and badle ki bhavna, and he is just going to do whatever he can. And in the process, he'll probably even get killed. That whole thing was another one of those, like, he's not really thought this through with the precision of an actual like soldier. So anyway, that happened, and then he killed the last guy he killed. Oh, the guys in the storeroom that he killed together with the sword. Oh my God. Then the last guy, who of course had to, the big mouth had to happen, and he is like, जो तेरी दूसरी बहन के साथ किया वो इसके साथ करूंगा, and da da da. Oh man, that like someone like that, a human like that, who talks like that and thinks like that, I'm not even ashamed to say that I enjoyed watching him get killed, and the way he got killed. That was sweet. I'm just saying. And again, now through this whole scene and through this whole incident, what has Aditya Dhar subtly told us? He's told us that this bullshit that goes on, land grabbing, family feuds over land matters and blah, 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 this goes on. And I'm not saying just in Punjab, probably in a lot more other parts. This stuff goes on, man. And this is bullshit. You can't just go into someone's house and kill and hang their family members, rape their daughters, kidnap the other daughters, and do what you please with them. Like, what sort of nonsense is this? And it's supposedly not very uncommon. So again, another issue that Aditya Dhar is asking us and the powers that be to really think about, what the is this? Are we living in some medieval period? And what the hell is this bullshit about establishing dominance through rape? It's such a fucking and I'm just, it makes me so angry because it's such a medieval mindset. It's such a what's the word? It's such a invader mindset. You know where it came from. The spoils of war. You know where that mentality came from. And you apply it today and you're like, I mean, these were just two neighbor Sikh families. And this stuff goes on. And I'm not saying it goes on only in this. I'm just saying it goes on because of the mentality. And it's so disgusting. It is beyond disgusting that you think you need to establish your dominance through the rape of the women in someone's household. Like, and then the galis come from there. Ja jatiya apni, whatever, right? And then, through my videos on my channel and through the music I've reviewed, and every time I've called out something like this, I get hate because, oh, it's just the way we talk, or it's just, no, it's the root is somewhere else. If you don't go deep into the root of where this mentality comes from, that, oh, sister this and mother this, you're just going to continue the same poison, toxic thing. Anyway, so it just pissed me off because cut to right after this scene, that heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching scene between him and his sister. Oh my God. If that is not one of the most brilliant scenes in this movie, I don't know. I like if it the girl who played his sister and Ranveer, because now this man who's just gone on a rampage, killing, maiming, murdering, butchering. This guy, as he's walking up to that house or that hut or that room, you can see he's actually like shaking. He's actually just like the adrenaline is probably wearing off now, and he's probably like his whole body and his everything is shaking, right? And he enters, opens the door. Did you see the look on Ranveer's face? I don't know what to say about that scene, because man, give him every award already, because the look of sadness and shame and just like being apologetic, everything, the horror of seeing his sister like that, everything is visible on his face. Oh man, I can't believe I'm getting emotional talking about it, because ooh, that was insane. And I'm sorry, but I'm still in like the first scene of the movie, and I don't know how long I've already been talking, but maybe this review will also be in parts. um, but how else do we deep dive into things together? I don't know. I don't know how else to. I can't do a review like a lot of other really good movie review channels, because they've been doing this a long time, and they've said all the things that need to be said. The only way I can discuss something like this is by like reliving it with y'all. So anyway, so that scene happened, and was like, I was sobbing. I was angry, uh like secondhand anger on behalf of his sister. I was pissed off because, firstly, we have such a beautiful tradition in India about, as far as brother sister relationships go. We have Raksha Bandhan. We have that um unspoken like commitment to each other, right? As siblings, like sisters take care of brothers, brothers take care of sisters. And the way his hands are shaking, and he's almost like, oh man, I need to stop. Right. Okay. Oof. Okay, sorry. That scene is very difficult to talk about. I'm really trying. So basically, I felt secondhand anger because I was seeing her, and I was just like, she is shattered, man. You've broken her soul. Look at that girl. She's like bawling her eyes out, and she's just like, you weren't there for. She didn't even have to speak one word. She was just like, you weren't there for me, and look what they did to me. Like, could you see? Oh my God, this is very hard to talk about. And him just like crying in shock, looking at what they've done to her, what her halat is, and trying to apologize to her and just breaking down with her. Just imagine, these are two siblings who grew up together. Anyway, that scene just broke me. That scene just broke me. And then right after the scene is the courtroom scene. So now Aditya Dhar has broken us completely as audiences. And you know what? Actually, before I move on from that scene, I just want to say that um, I think you need to take a moment if you use mother sister galis, or if you um think like teri girlfriend, meri girlfriend. And, it's just the scene was very important for me to think about later, because I was like, the entire thing that happened with a family feuding with another over land, and then going on a murder and raping spree, and then grabbing whatever land they came for. They could have had that fight without involving murder and rape, in bringing murder and rape into the picture. You know what I mean? Or they could have had it out legally or whatever. There are many ways to solve disputes. But the fact that it comes down to murder and specifically rape of the women of the family, that that is such a sickness. It is such a sickness in society if that still happens, and wherever that still happens. It is a fucking sickness in the brain. And I think it needs to be talked about and it needs to be highlighted. So the next time, before you use mother sister abuses and you think of women as property, or think of, just check yourself. So anyway, that happened. And then the courtroom scene where now we're kind of being led to the point where Jussie is being let down by everything, right? That he had chosen to uphold and defend earlier, before all this happened to his family. So that scene again was just ridiculous to me. In the court, the way things were being presented, what happened to, I mean, they don't even show us the final verdict or anything, but this again, very, very, very important thing that Aditya Dhar decided to highlight by making sure that the aggressor family that did all of this to Jaskirat's parents and sisters was an MLA family. Again, Aditya Dhar, thank you for highlighting this, because nobody is above the law. And if you think that by becoming an MLA or MP, you are above the law, or your kids are above the law, or your grandkids are above the law, whatever, you can just go about doing whatever the fuck you want, then I'm sorry, like, as the people who put those people in power, you need to fix this. Like, I don't know, I don't have a solution, but it's an issue. It's an issue, and we've seen it over and over and over again in our country, whether it's Jessica Lal or whether it's other cases. The minute some people come into power, them and their kids and their grandkids and their great grandkids, they all think they own the fucking city or sheher or country or whatever. So if you've come into power, you've come into power as a servant of the people. The people don't become your servants. No, neither does the law. So I'm sorry, but if there's any politician's family or grandchild or child or whatever relative who's watching, stop freaking misusing your family member's position. It's ridiculous that you don't see politics as a way to serve the nation and as a way to serve the people, and you just see it as a way to establish dominance. It's just, oh, I just can't, man. I just cannot. Anyway, and then the people who are actually serving people are talked ill about. Anyway, so I think I need to breathe, because इसी point पे मेरा इतना पारा high हो रहा था. I was just like, oh my god, I want to kill someone myself. I was feeling secondhand anger for Jaskirat. But yeah, I mean, on behalf of Jaskirat. So ठीक है, वो हुआ, courtroom scene हुआ. I honestly at this point I feel like जितना जल्दी आदित्य ये बैक स्टोरी बता सकते थे, उन्होंने किया, without letting it lose its soul, and the bond between sister and brother and the mother and son. That outside the courtroom scene, he established all relationships, him and his sister, and what he's telling her, I want you to do, and my dreams for you. Him telling his friend and his future brother-in-law, and making it sure that he's not good enough for you if he doesn't get right in his ways. And you continue studying and becoming independent. And then his mom, and she's saying, Mera bahadur bacha, and like, so her like giving him strength despite being completely broken as a woman. He established the family bond so beautifully in that short scene. I really found myself wishing that he had spent more time on the family's like sessions together. But that one picture, that family picture that he opened the movie with, that just summed up everything that we needed to know about their family dynamic and love. So anyway, that was beautifully done. And then उसके बाद आया जसकीरत का, आई थिंक, किडनैपिंग सीन, जो वो पुलिस कस्टडी से किडनैप हो गया था. देयर ऑल्सो वो सब ड्रामा था, राइट? इट वाज ऑल स्टेज्ड. So he was abducted by Ajay Sanyal's team. तो I was wondering कि ये लोग उसे second time, I was wondering कि ये तो उसे वो कर रहे हैं किडनैप उनके लिए, तो ये फायर क्या कर रहे हैं पुलिस की वैन्स पे? Are they blanks? I was actually worried. I was like, what if you actually kill someone? Can you control? Because they just came out of the khet and they're all firing. Anyway, so he got kidnapped and taken. And the minute they put that thing on his head, I was like, हाँ, I knew. Even in the first watch, I was like, हाँ, ये अजय सन्याल ही करवा रहे. तब वहां पे हम प्यार करने वाले was playing. That's the song. By the way, in case you're wondering how I'm remembering all this, I took notes like a diligent student in the second watch. I was like watching, and I don't need to look at my phone to type. So I was just ये हो रहा था मेरा. initially I thought I'll just make a note when a song plays because I want to remember which scene the, the the particular song was used in the background, right? That's all I went. वही था मेरा intention as I went in to watch, but पूरा हो गया मेरा पूरा scene by scene note taking. Anyway, coming back, so that whole scene between then Manav Gohil, who by the way, amazing work right from the first movie, that character, and our man, and then he says कि बदला लेने के लिए अपने something को ईंधन बनाने की जरूरत है जो हर हर किसी के बस की बात नहीं, something he marvels that dialogue. And then Ajay Sanyal comes. What an entry, by the way. Just the man and his cigarette smoking. Anyway, so this one obviously recognized him, and we are like, you're telling him to fight for you, but the dialogue that was spoken by Manav Gohil that now your life will belong to us and you have to do whatever we say. I was like, they could have phrased this better. You know, if you want to convince someone to just work for you and do whatever you want, thoda you can like say what the mission is or what you need him to do. But anyway, there I was just like, I don't know if I would agree, but anyway, so that dialogue happened, and what I liked, again, this subtle like Geeta ka wo डाल दिया आदित्य ने कि he's saying कि ये हमारा कर्तव्य है, हम मर्द हैं, and all of that. Now, and I saw this online, many people are like, what do you mean हम मर्द हैं and this is the job of men and whatever. No, it's not. This, you don't have to take everything that literally. He's basically saying the sar of the Gita, which is our job is to do our dharma and our karma, and that's it. We do not expect medals and recognition for all of it, which is to say that halki ichha mat karo. It's not on us. Your job is to get into the battlefield. And plus, he says ki Vaheguru, say he apni wo karunga, right? Jaskirat says to him. So then he quotes his own guru back to him and says ki kuch bhi ho jaye, a warrior never leaves the battlefield. So amazing, beautifully done, Aditya. The showing us how the Gita and the Granth are so alike in what they teach and how they have everything is connected and same roots. I mean, kya likha hai wo scene? I was just in awe. The second time I was watching and thinking about all this, and I'm like, yo, the subtleties that Aditya has thrown in, because he's also handling this whole Khalistan issue through the rest of the movie as we progress. But he's planting these little things of like, whatever these people believe, that's all BS. Same tree, man, same tree. So that he says to him, and that's when Jaskirat looks up and he's like, oh shit, my guru taught this. And then he says that तुम्हारे अंदर जो बदले की आग है उसका ईंधन कैसे उसको जलाना है, वो चिंगारी वाला डायलॉग है, वो मेरे ही पास है. Again, we are doing a Gita reference where it's about Shri Krishna directing Arjun and fueling his fire in the right way. Beautiful, beautiful. That whole Indhan exchange that happens there, I loved it. And now I think uske baad seedha wo deployment wala scene aa gaya where they call his mom and pretend to be the bank person to reassure him that your mom's getting her dues every month. And then he gives him his passport which says his name, iska naam kya hai, Sher, Babbar Sher. And then he tells him ki nazar aur sabr tez rakhna and all of that. So love that. See off again, it's very matter of fact, like this is your mission, do it, that's it, like no extra whatever. So now he's Bhai Sahab lands in Kabul, goes to a hotel. He's looking like a, firstly, I don't think I've ever seen Ranveer look this handsome, cleavage aside, which was visible in this movie also, but that aside, it's just his face, it's just all here. This man has owned every scene in this movie through this and his eyes. And that hair, someone tell me his hair routine. Just asking for a friend. So anyway, so now he enters looking like a movie star. As he walks out, he looks like someone from Kabul, and he's changed his whole getup and look and hair, like baal khule hair. All of that happens. While he's sitting in that hotel room and burning that family photo and shedding his last tear, it was just beautiful. Wahan pe sarangi play ho rahi thi. So I still don't know which song that's from. If you know, please comment below. But wahan pe jo sarangi baji hai, oof, oof. The background music was another character, and a lot of people said ki iska music first ki comparison se itna acha hai. I disagree completely, because if you watch it the second time and you notice, it may not have the same kind of songs and whatever, but the way the music has been used in the very, very, like the music becomes one of the characters in that scene. It's beautifully done. So वहां पे एक सारंगी वाला वो हुआ, and we move into chapter 2, which is Lucifer. Now, before we go to chapter 2, I just want to say that a part of me felt thoda disappointed that um, his backstory was not a Khalistan issue, and it was a story of two families fighting over a piece of land. I honestly, and this even during the courtroom scene, I felt this disappointment. I was like, Aditya, man, you had the opportunity to make it about that, but you chose not to. But even though he chose not to, he still highlighted two very important things. One, this, politicians in power, misusing their power, and this whole like thing of murder and rape, especially rape being a thing. So anyway, I had that thought, and then I left it and I moved into chapter 2. I moved, matlab, the movie moved. But yeah, now we cut to present day. Lucifer. It's like Lucifer naam क्यों रखा है? First one made sense, right? A memory, a burnt memory. So I was wondering why Lucifer was the name of the chapter, and I googled it. Of course, I know who Lucifer is, but from all the definitions I found online, I still can't put my finger on it exactly. कि Lucifer ही क्यों रखा नाम? But ठीक है, it is the devil. Um, it is the anti. So since it leads up to all the gang wars and all of that, maybe that's why. Anyway, now in present day, we are in the chai wala. Is it the washma? But chai shop, it is, right? That's where they used to meet for their salt wali chai. So वहां पे वो आलम को बोल रहा है. अब आदित्य धर एस्टैब्लिश कर रहे हैं कि अब इसकी मोटिवेशंस क्या है इस कैरेक्टर की आफ्टर किलिंग रहमान अगेन. What is he going through? What is he feeling? Because we saw him a little like shaken and broken almost at the end of the first film. So now we're back, and he's like, when I initially came here on this spy mission, I thought I'll work for a few years and then I'll go back somehow and make my way back home and to my family and country. But now, after killing this guy, something in me has died. I feel like the old Jussie is actually finally dead, and now Hamza has actually come alive. Like I was just playing the part of Hamza till now, but now I am become Death, the destroyer of worlds. I am now become Hamza. So वो exchange वहाँ पे हुआ, and then again he asks him कि आप कहाँ से हैं, आपकी कहानी, and this one very sweetly says कि आज तुम्हारा दिन है, मेरी बात कभी और करेंगे. और वहाँ पे किस किस का नाम लूं मैं, मुझे जिंदगी ने मारा, प्ले हो रहा है in the background. Amazing, amazing. These chai scenes and the songs playing in the background right from the first movie, beautiful. Who is your music researcher? I just want to know that. Is it Shashwat? So that happened, and cut to Rahman's funeral. I think the hall cheered so loud when they focused on Akshay Khanna's face. He's lying down with the cotton in his nose. There was so much cheering. I was like, oh my god, aura farming यहाँ भी हो रही है deathbed. Like, and then we see Rahman Daket's wife for her ultimate action scene, carrying on from the last film. She slaps Ranveer and gives him that look. First, she slaps her husband because he's caused her son's death. Now she slaps Ranveer because her husband's dead, and then she leaves. Right? That's her one and only scene in the movie. During this funeral, the song that's playing is the Jasmine Sandler's Sartaj, Satinder Sartaj wala gana. And I just quickly want to see, I think it's Jan something, right? Yeah, he Gana hai. The second those Jasmine calls collaborating with Satinder Sartaj her biggest victory. Jaiye Sajna. That song is playing in the background, and what a soulful song. The music has changed the scenes in this movie into something else. I mean, the actors are already so beyond brilliant. In every second of every scene, it's there, they're living it, it's in their eyes. And then you add the music to it, takes up the emotionality by several notches. So वो हुआ, and इस song के starting से funeral हो रहा है. यहाँ funeral चल रहा है, और वहां अरशद पप्पू लियारी में अपनी गैंग के साथ टेक ओवर कर रहा है. गाना वही चल रहा है. Extreme this thing, gang stuff, and extreme sadness funeral stuff. Beautifully juxtaposed, and I just loved it. Then we see, oh, this was hilarious. So now we see Jamil Jamali on the phone with Arshad Pappu, and he's playing his games throughout this chapter, right? So he's like, Arshad, तू चिंता मत करी, एंड ये वो एंड दिस गाय अरशद इज लाइक, हाँ मैंने तो लियारी को टेक ओवर कर लिया है और अब मैं आपके दामाद को भी बहुत जल्दी मारने वाला हूँ, हमजा को। सो ही सेज कि अरे यार इसने तो मेरे नाक में दम कर रखा है, और मेरी बेटी की शादी उसके कजन के साथ तय हो गई थी और ये आ गया बीच में और भगा ले गया एंड दिस दैट, राइट? दैट आदित्य धार अगेन, दैट कजन के साथ निकाह तय हो गया था वाली लाइन, क्या सटली सटली प्लेस किया है ये पूरे फिनोमिना को मूवी में। आई वाज लाइक ब्रो, who wrote the dialogues? I was like, oh my god, he had to, right? He couldn't help himself. So that happened. And I was like, I was doing that. But yeah, and now this guy भड़काउस उजैर to take over लियारी and says जला दो पूरी लियारी को। और फिर अब ये पूरा गैंग वॉर्स हो रहे हैं, and we all know from the real life history that these gang wars went on for a few years. The gangs were at it. SP Aslam was at it, and it was just everyday occurrence, right? In that city, in that area, gunshots and blah and blah. So while Uzair then decides कि हम जला देते हैं सब कुछ और कहीं से तो निकल के आएगा ये अरशद पप्पू, वो सीन्स मुझे थोड़े, ना आई विल बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट, द सीन्स दैट आई फील for me, especially in the first watch, I felt like the first half of the movie was slow pace and then things picked up from the interval point. And the second time I went to watch the movie, I was like, okay, we'll sit through the first half. Honestly, when I saw it the second time, I did not feel the first half was slow paced at all. And I don't know why. Maybe my expectations were too high. Ki things are going to move immediately from the get go. But in the first watch, I felt like first half mein itna kuch wo hua nahi. But then second watch, I completely changed my mind. I was like, man, every scene moving from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. There's not a second wasted, except one. I'll talk about that later. But there's no time wasted, and everything is condensed to fit. ऑलरेडी 4 घंटे की है पर आपने फिर भी उसको स्क्वीज करके दिखा दिया सब कुछ. सो देर आर मल्टीपल सीन्स विद इन दैट सीन. एक दिन वो कोई और एरिया को चला रहे हैं, एक दिन कोई और एरिया, एक दिन कोई और. टोटल आई काउंटेड इन द सेकंड वॉच कि 3 different scenes चल रहे थे mixed into each other. In one of them, Ranveer has that ball of fire with him. In another one, he is lighting the cigarette and sitting on a box and setting fire. And in a third one, he's carrying the dynamite thing in his hand, lighting it with a cigarette and throwing it. So there were 3 different scenes mixed into one. And यहाँ पे वो Jyoti Nura वाला song is happening. Firstly, can I just, I love Jyoti Nura. Perfect bringing her into the soundtrack. So that happened. We'll talk about all that music stuff in the next video. But अब ये भाई साहब फुटबॉल खेल रहे थे. फर्स्टली दैट थिंग अबाउट मेरी गाड़ी भेजता हूँ और मेरी दूध वाली फैक्ट्री में तू छुप जा. Like, man, this guy, he's acting so well, playing all sides, right from the first movie. So at this point I was just like, okay, he's doing this because he's obviously loyal to his son-in-law. But I was like, this guy is many shades deep. Like, there are too many shades to this character. It was just a thought that came to me when I was watching it for the first time. But he sends these guys to the Doodh factory. We see what happens there. Brutal, gory, like the amount of violence in this second film. I never thought I would say this, but I enjoyed that much violence for the first time. So he kills this guy and this guy. And you know, the one thing I found fascinating here is Ranveer's face in all these gang war wale scenes, especially in that Doodh wali factory, because he's the one sitting and doing this to the Doodh ka bottle, right, with that rod. And he's got this death stare. Zero dialogue in that scene. Zero dialogue. But more than Uzair, who's the one doing what he's doing, and Rizwan, who's hitting the people and all, it's Ranveer who freaking owns that scene. He's just sitting there with that death stare. He's watching Uzair smash this guy's head and neck and foot and whatever. And while that guy's screaming in pain, he just turns his head like nonchalant and he just takes a sip of the milk. And he's just like, yeah, okay, whatever. That man, just give him every award already. So now we see them driving through Liari. Koi beech mein nahi aayega. That famous scene happens. The football happens. And I was wondering, why is he pulling out his phone and recording all this? But it's all part of the plan. It's all part of the plan to bring the political party down, right? So now this video gets taken. It gets made public. And we see the buttocks meeting wala scene. So now that was my favorite scene, man. But see Rakesh Bedi's face expressions in that scene. It is insane how he knows when to play subordinate and become quiet and just take the scolding. He knows when to like offer advice and how to frame it, and it's just beautifully written character. So और वहां पे इतनी गालियां चल रही थी. So that happened. But again, another thing that Aditya Dhar very subtly, smartly placed in this scene was um, kya kare Major Iqbal? This guy asks Arjun Rampal, right? And he's like, the only solution to all our problems is awam ka dhyan patao, right? We gotta distract them. So this one, kidnap a few Baluch boys from this college, kill them, encounter कर दो, और अब मीडिया उसमें बिजी हो जाएगी, और आप इधर से उजैर को टपकाओ या उसका फिर अरेस्ट वारंट जो भी उन्होंने डिसाइड किया. So that whole scene and that whole setup was so um, um, demonstrative of what goes on all the time, which is the powers that we get together and decide how to handle a crisis that's making them look bad, which happens every other day, and how they either distract by doing something unnecessary and brutal and whatever to the Baluch people or the minorities or whatever you want to call them, or you plan and plot something against India or do something against India. Like यही है आपकी distraction वाली things. तो इनमें से एक चलता ही रहता है. All in an attempt to protect your position and your power. So वो उस scene ने वो सब दिखाया. It was kind of demonstrating what goes on. Now Jamil Jamali bhai sahab जो pool में थे, by the way, he was singing आप जैसा कोई. So again one, last time they placed Hawa Hawa, this time they placed आप जैसा कोई वो हुआ. I remember that. So now the Baluch kids get killed, which I was so pissed off about, that poor boy. Then Uzair gets arrested in Dubai. And now Ranveer takes the throne. And this is the moment that I was like, ये थोड़ा ज़्यादा filmy हो गया. This scene, the way it's been done, does not, in my opinion, belong in the Dhurandhar world, because Dhurandhar is very real to me. And Ranveer now taking the throne, and that entire walk after he has dropped Uzair off and he's gone, and he knows he's going to get arrested. He's informed who he needs to inform. That entire walk of his from outside the factory through the factory, removing his jacket first, where the boys are sitting, then entering that room in slow motion, then taking off his shirt. What was the need? What was the need? I was just like, then taking off his shirt, then turning towards the camera, and this full shot of his like muscular body and all is happening. So then he sits and then he's just like leaning back and he's like, text aata hai wahan pe Lyari ka king, right? I don't know. That to me was too filmy. It was too filmy, too unnecessary. And in my head, I was wondering, did Ranveer request this कि मुझे अपना body दिखानी है एक scene में? तो वो मुझे थोड़ा weird लगा. But other than this scene, everything else was like perfection, flawless, in my opinion. So ठीक है, वो हुआ. और अब chapter 3. Chapter 3 is Ghosts from the Past. And this was the longest chapter in the movie because it started quite early on, I think after 1 hour into the film. And I think this chapter lasted an hour because chapter 4 started after the interval. Just in case you missed that, I'm telling you. Because I took notes. So I cannot believe. Anyway, so Ghost from the Past has happened and has begun. And now Hamza and Khanani and Jamil Jamali are having their meeting, and वो हो रहा है कि बच्चों को नहीं मानना चाहिए था. Now Hamza's pissed, but he can't be outwardly dramatic and angry and loud about it. But he is pissed, and he's like, you knew about this, Baluch kids were going to be targeted. And now he's pissed off on behalf of the Baluch people. And he's like, that's it. Now this party's rule ends here, and I'm going to plot it and I'm going to make it happen. So now he says, fix my meeting with this guy, Nawab Shafiq. So again, Mukesh Chhabra ji, the casting director of this film. I cannot, man. How do you find these doppelgangers? Did you see how perfectly resembling this actor was who played Nawab Shafiq? Oh my God. Okay, 1 second. I'll be back. Sorry, I'm back. I needed to take a bit of a breather and like have some water. But so this Nawab Shafiq, did you see the actor? Doppelganger, and how? So अब वो meeting होती है उनकी, and he's annoyed with these other two. He's like, you guys leave, I want to talk to this guy. And then that happens, and then Nime Wari Jawa song plays, and the election rally happens. Then you see, Ranveer climbing up the stairs. This election rally speech and winning and all that has happened. And now they are throwing money into the crowd. The voting has happened. This guy has won. And Ranveer climbs up the stairs of this, I don't know what building it is. And on Chhat se, he's like, shoots, everyone shoots. You know how they celebrate. And now we see him as कराची का बादशाह. अब वो हो गया, इलेक्शन जीत गया उसकी पार्टी, और अब वो कराची का बादशाह हो गया. And now the moment that got the entire hall to cheer the loudest. guess कौन सा moment था? I'll give you 1 second. If you can guess, write it in the comments. हो गया? Did you write? Okay, it was 2014 man, Modi ji swearing in ceremony. The moment India started rewriting itself. So wo hua, and now cut to, we are seeing it on the TV screen. And whose house is it? Major Iqbal's father. What is his name? Jahangir, right? And he's watching. And oh man, if you all remember from my Dhurandhar 1 review, how I was talking about, how we were waiting. We were waiting for 2014 election results, and we were just like, if things don't change, we are like, anyway. So that was personally one of the best moments and days for me, for my family, I think for all of us, and even Indians who don't realize it, they may or may not realize in the future what a great day that was for India. But that scene got the entire hall to cheer so loudly. All of us were just like, yeah. And a lot of people are like talking about Aditya Dhar being so blatantly obvious in his leanings, his political leanings, and his bias. And hold on one sec. The entire hall was cheering, by the way. I don't think any other scene got such a loud cheer as this one. But that was the moment. That was the moment that India's destiny took a turn for the better. And even people who are anti-Modi or don't care for him, whatever, they will realize down the line, it doesn't matter. But that was the moment that we were all waiting for so long. So when I saw it being shown in the movie, I was just like, now the enemies of India, I want to see their face, right? And I was so happy because that scene right after the dialogues, the exchange between his father and him, oh man, it was sweet. It was sweet. Because he's like, oh, तुम लोगों ने तो बहुत ये करा ना, NGOs में पैसे देके, और क्या था ये आर्टिकल्स, इंटरव्यूज ये छपवा के, इन लोगों को पैसे भेज के, नकली नोट बनवा के, ये वो ब्ला ब्ला ब्ला, इतना तुमने एफर्ट किया. ही रिकाउंटेड ऑल ऑफ इट. एंड क्या हुआ? ये चाय वाला बन गया उनका पीएम एंड ऑल. दे थिंक चाय वाला इज लाइक सम इंसल्ट. Sadly, the chai wala has done whatever needed to be done. But anyway, so that scene was so sweet because one, it was the first time Aditya Dhar was establishing that this guy, who we've seen as this really brutal, freaking evil person from the first movie, actually at home, this is what he deals with, and this is how useless he's made to feel by his own father, who has no respect for him, etc. So he was trying to make sure that Major Iqbal gets humiliated and gets shown to be this guy who can't even produce an heir. So there's no, like, his own father has no value for him. And who, I mean, for some reason, and I was trying in the second watch, I was trying to see, because when his father is giving him all these galis and telling him कि तू मुझे एक वो भी नहीं दे पाया, मेल एयर जो भी है वो मेंटालिटी, और ऐसी औलाद दी, और मैंने इतने, like, imagine a father telling his son as a pompous, proud thing that I raped so many Bangladeshi women. Like, imagine the level of sickness in the brain to think that that is something to brag to your son about, or to anyone about, or to do. Like, oh my God. Oh my God. I was just like, are you like serious here? But that is how a lot of them are. That is like a major accomplishment. It was disgusting. And I was like, oh my God, no wonder. Now you kind of realize it was a masterful stroke by Aditya Dhar to give us a backstory to a character like Major Iqbal. Because you realize, one, how disrespected he is in his own home, how he deals with his father who's constantly like bragging about certain shit and filling his mind and heart and brain with hate for India and everything that is kafir. So all of that is a conditioning that he's had from the time he was born, right? And from the time that he has not been able to produce a male. And the funny thing is, for a second, anything that Aditya Dhar focuses the camera on, even if it's for half a millisecond, is relevant and important. I like, this is now. So for a second, Major Iqbal, he's just listening, he's looking down, and you're just like, I was wondering, how is this guy who's so vicious and evil, how is he tolerating someone saying all this to him? Because they don't establish that he's the father right early on. He says it in the course of his dialogue. कि नजर नीची करके देख, बाप हूं मैं तेरा, something he says to him, right? Then you're like, oh shit, he's a father. No wonder this man's tolerating this. Otherwise, he would have murdered him in 10 different ways right now, by now. So, for a second, when he says, ki, you weren't able to give me a male heir, Major Iqbal's eyes look at this photo frame. Him, his wife, and the daughter. There are 3 photo frames there on the shelf. And I was trying to see in the second watch ki ye kaun hai, ye kya hai, why is he showing us this? I still can't figure it out. If you guys have, then tell me. But I was like, were they cousins? Because they were cousins, they were born with a daughter like that, with a disability or with a special case. But what was the reason for that 2-second focus on those photos? I don't know. If you guys have noticed and you've figured it out, please let me know. But that was again Aditya Dhar pointing out this whole within family marriage thing that goes on, which is just freaking bizarre to me, bizarre to all of us sane people. But I don't know. So again, one more subtle planting of this. Aditya Dhar, man, he's pointed out so many things in such subtle ways. It's hilarious. One was the dialogue कि cousin के साथ हुई थी, इसका हुआ था निकाह तय, और अब ये उन्होंने दिखा दिया कि ये result ये होता है, इतने सारे special children. And it's not even like these are made up things, or you're trying to demean a community or their ways or something. It is scientific fact that if you do this, you will have problem. So yeah, that entire scene का placement is so beautiful, because यहाँ TV पे मोदी जी swear in कर रहे हैं as Prime Minister of India. यहाँ पे ये बहुत ही frustrated और हेट फिल्ड इंसान वो देख रहा है, और उसकी भड़ास निकल रही है, और वो भी उसकी भड़ास अपने बेटे पे निकल रही है, जो ISI का जो भी है हेड है, और उसको वो गालियां दे रहा है कि यू कुडंट डू एनीथिंग, यू कुडंट स्टॉप दिस चाय वाला फ्रॉम बिकमिंग दिस थिंग, और इलेक्शंस अफेक्ट करने की तुम्हारी सारी कोशिशें बेकार गई, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा. सो आई वाज लाइक, व्हाट अ ब्यूटीफुल सीन, व्हाट अ ब्यूटीफुल सीन. And here Modi ji is, what a beautiful, loved it. Well done. I was wondering, how is he going to show the moment when Modi ji becomes PM in part 2? I was really wondering, and to have done it this way, frustration दिखाना उस side का, एक previous generation का और अब current generation का, तो बहुत ही beautiful way. And then his father, he tells the guy to take his father because Bade Saab has now called. Bade Saab always calls when Modi ji कुछ करते हैं, right? Loved it. Loved it. So now this Bade Saab has finally called, and he says, मुझे Hamza को लेके आ अपने साथ, tells him. And obviously he's seen Hamza on TV and everything. By the way, every time Ajay Sanyal is seeing Hamza on TV, which he does जब वो election जीत गया और वो उसका हाथ ऊपर कर रहा था stage पे and all, so Ajay Sanyal is looking at the TV and he's like, मेरा बब्बर शेर. I think that's the only moment you actually see him be that, and the telephone video call scene, when you actually see expression and a hint of joy on Ajay Sanyal's face. But anyway, so he's been on TV. Of course, we see Bade Saab ka हाथ और वो सब, and he calls Iqbal and says, bring him now. So he says कि ठीक है, मैं देखता हूँ, वो शायद बलूच उनसे मिलने गया है. Cut to now, this moment, I have to talk about this. The Shere Baloch scene. So now cut to वो शायद उनसे मिलने गया है, and he is now in the mountains meeting them, and suddenly starts playing, and I'm like, I cannot tell you guys the joy I felt. एक तो obviously the shock was more in the first watch, but as soon as the music of Didi started playing, I was like, I was gonna get up and start like cheering and dancing, but I was in a very quiet cinema hall. I don't think anyone felt the joy that I was feeling. But I was like, guys, it's Didi. And I went to watch alone. Couldn't even tell him. I was like, oh my God, did you see? I was wondering, right? We were all wondering, what are they going to do about that scene? What song are they going to use in that scene? In the trailer reaction also, I was wondering out loud, like, kaun sa gana use hoga? And the fact that they use Didi, I can't tell you guys the memories I have attached with that song. I've told you all before, I grew up in Muscat. The way Dhurandhar is a phenomena today, this song was a phenomena when it released in the Middle East. And I think India में probably बाद में आया था, जब वो I think किसी movie में remake हुआ था वो गाना, but the anthem, the movement that song was, it was like so. My dad and his partners had organized Sheikh Khalid's concert in Muscat, and as a kid, I remember, they were picking them up from the airport, taking them to the hotel. There was a huge sponsors and organizers and Sheikh Khalid's team, everyone, ek dinner tha the night before the concert. There were these long tables. So in the center table, Sheikh Khalid and his crew were sitting. We were at other tables. And I remember as a little kid, I went up to him and I was asking for his autograph. Such a sweet man. One of the best Rai singers out there. And I think just one of the best Rai singers of all time. And even today, his voice is just beautiful, beautiful. So core memory, that song for me, and the concert that I saw as a child. Probably the first non-Indian concert I ever attended in my life was Sheikh Khalid. So that song is a huge personal like favorite and attachment. And I saw it in this movie and it gave me so much joy. I was like, yes, whoever decided to pick this song and go with it, hugs from me, special hugs from me. But I have to also add here that the music got me excited. But the second the Arabic line started, which is Sheikh Khalid's first line, um, I was like, why did they do this? You know, his original voice and the vocals on that track are so beautiful and so powerful. And then they added like a electronic-ish filter to it. And I just did not like that at all. So literally I went from to what? Like that happened. The emotions I have gone through while watching this movie, I don't know, like if I ever will again in my life. But that's what happened during this song. Literally, it was 5 seconds, and then my bubble burst, and I was like, no, why did they do this? So that's another little tiny thing that I didn't like. But ठीक है, the song progressed. उसमें rap भी आया, which I didn't love, but we'll go over all of that in the music review. This scene, I was thankful that Ranveer didn't start dancing like Akshay had done, because then it would have been too obvious कि वो recreate करने की कोशिश हो रही है यहाँ पे. He did it his own way. He was being titled Shere Baluch, and I didn't love the choreography in this. I felt like if at all anything could be felt like a remnant of old Bollywood, it would be this scene with its very choreographed, many number dancers and all of that. So that bit was not my favorite. The bits where they are jumping in the air and shooting on the ground, again, I was like, is this safe? But ठीक है, वो उनका है celebration का style, तो we let it be. But now he gets given that white turban, right? And again, now we see Shere Baluch in front of him. So now he's become King of Liari, he's become Karachi ka Badshah, and he's become Shere Baluch. All the titles man has earned. Established. Very nicely paced first half is happening up until now. And now he goes to see Mr. Dawood Bhai Saab. According to sting operation in the past and a lot of dossiers that the Indian government had shared with the Pakistanis, several times in the past, that we have his addresses, we have his passport numbers, and the passport numbers of his family members, everything we have provided. And for the longest time, they kept denying that he is in Pakistan, as they kept denying about Osama, to the point where his daughter is marrying a cricketer's son. I mean, anyway, so we all kind of know from previous sting operations and all of that he lives in this very posh area of Karachi, which is Clifton. So वो भी दिखा दिया, the angle that the camera was at, showing us the gate and the car pulling in. And it was really weird because he's called it White House. It said 13 Clifton. It showed these eagles on the gate, which is very American. It showed like dollar signs on the door. And the whole thing, White House, eagle, dollar sign, very subtle messaging again, or not so subtle. That yeah, this is very we have a guy who is designated a global terrorist. We have ample evidence that he is there in Pakistan. We have provided it to everyone, from the UN to Pakistan to the US to everyone. And yet no extradition has happened. No, this thing has happened. No action has happened. So is Aditya Dhar also trying to indicate that this guy is safe and sound, living this very, normal, well, he's sick apparently, but he's living this normal life blessed by the powers that be, which includes the powers that be, which is the Pakistani army. The politicians don't really have much power, but it's the army, and it's the US that blesses that army in so indirectly he's got the blessing of the US. That's why he's still alive and active and running his entire anti-India operation from Pakistan the way he does. Right? I think that was the subtle messaging, because in the second time when I was watching, I was like, why have they called it White House? Address तो पता है, research तो obviously करी है उन्होंने बहुत ही, और ये तो public domain में available है address उसका. लेकिन व्हाइट हाउस क्यों नाम रख दिया घर का, और वो ईगल्स क्यों दिखा दिए, यू नो, और इज दैट ऑलरेडी ऑन record the way his gates look and walls of the house look? I don't know. Either way, I thought that was subtle messaging. And अब उसको हमजा को वेट कराते हैं नीचे, ये लोग ऊपर जाते हैं. Funnily, we don't see Jamil Jamali going with him. He goes with Major Iqbal. Major Iqbal goes up and he waits. And when he enters the room, Jamil Jamali is sitting there. Did you guys notice he's got his hand in his hand and he's like allowing his hand and doing all that? And then later it becomes clear to us why he's doing that. So every time he meets him, he poisons him. I loves it. So good. So anyway, now he's come and they are talking about Chaiwala Ban Gaya PM and all that. I'm just loving it. I'm just loving it. So everyone who is pissed off about Aditya Dhar getting the Modi mention and showing, you know, Modi in different parts of the movie, I don't care that it pisses you off. I don't think any one of us really care. Because like he did with part one, showing actual footage of 26/11, actual footage of like parliament attacks and um, hijacking and all the real life events that happened. Here also, it is a real life event, whether you liked it or not. Modi ji did become our PM in 2014, ना? तो अब वो तब आपको चुभा था, आज भी चुभेगा, हमेशा चुभेगा. If you are not a Modi fan, that's fine. It doesn't matter. But you can't label this propaganda. He's just using real life events as the baseline for the story and the world he's built. So anyway, that was just beautiful that they are discussing how effed they are and their operations are. वहां पे वो डिस्कस करता है कि पंजाब में अनरेस्ट पैदा करने की बहुत दिनों से मेरी ख्वाहिश है, क्योंकि उनका पहला प्लान तो स्पॉइल हो गया पार्ट वन में. Then Major Iqbal explains to this guy why they're doing what they're doing. So he's like, हम केरला में PFI या नक्सल्स को या खालिस्तान को, पंजाब को, जो भी है, ये सब हम अनरेस्ट नॉर्थ ईस्ट में जो भी है, हम करते रहते हैं इसको, fueling the unrest so that we can destabilize the country, and we know all this. So again, beautifully talked about and mentioned over there. And then this guy, and you really wonder why this soul is the way he is. Like, he was born and raised in Bombay, but what is this mentality? What is this mentality? We understand you became a gangster over time, but what is this anti-India hate that you have? For what? Why can't you just live a peaceful life and let people live a peaceful life? Why is that so difficult? So that again, his motivations have to be established or re-established for those people who don't know. And I really love that this movie is the kind of hit it is today, and the way it is telling the story of real life incidents and events and the motivations behind them. So he asked Ranveer when he introduces him, ki apni wafadari, you have to prove and all that, because the reason we are doing all this is because we are motivated by a certain ideology. So wo established ho jata hai by that dialogue. And I was just sitting there thinking, this will bother people who want to stick their head in the sand and not see reality for what it is. This ideology and mindset exists, and if it did not exist, everyone would just be living a very calm, peaceful life. But this need to attack and this need to ghuso and this need to like kill and defeat and whatever, it's such invader mentality. It's such invader mentality, and it is the root cause of all the problems. So again, a very, very high profile global terrorist who's been designated a global terrorist, उसकी भी मोटिवेशंस वहीं से आ रही हैं. वो थोड़ा इस्टेब्लिश करने वाला जो काम किया उस सीन ने, ब्यूटीफुल. एंड ऑल्सो I saw this on a reel somewhere, the fact that they showed Daud for the first time as this old frail who can't even stand and do anything and who's constantly peeing the bed and whatnot, like showing his actual condition, which never, like we've never in years and decades seen. We've heard that he's unwell, but there's no public record of it, right? So to show him as this lachar, helpless, I mean, he has help, but this lachar buddha, almost like dude, you're literally on your deathbed and you still want to like, I mean, thoda sa like thoda satya gaya, thoda nahi bahut. Like that's literally all that you're. So it was just showing the man for the evil human that he is, and he will be that till his last breath. And there's nothing in it for him except some kind of evil agenda, and I don't know, some self-satisfaction that I was able to carve my path to the 72 people that I want to meet. I don't know. Just saying. Anyways, coming back. So after that meeting ends, I feel like you can see in Ranveer's face how pissed off he is when he's hearing Dawood's plans and that whole drug thing. And he's so pissed off in the moment of it that he actually says, "Main nahi karta drugs ka kaam." And then the way Jamil Jamali looks at him, now it becomes clear why he was like, dude, he's gonna ruin the plan. Like, let me get him on board. In the moment, you feel like, हाँ वो उसका दामाद है, वो उसको बचा रहा है. लेकिन फिर हमें पता चलता है क्योंकि हाथ तो उसका उसके हाथ में है ही. Loves it. Anyway, so he agrees because he has to, but it was probably the first time in his entire career as a spy that he almost gave himself away by standing his ground. He kept quiet and didn't do anything during the 2611 scene. But during this scene where he's coming face to face for the first time with this initiator of everything against his country, the guy who activates all of it or most of it, he can't control himself. He's like, no, I'm not going to do it. And also that came from a position of power because now he's king of Karachi and Shere Baloch and king of Lyari and all of that, right? So that was a very nicely placed moment to say that ठीक है आप king of Karachi होगे तो आप थोड़ा सा like अपना disagreement voice कर सकते हो, but end of the day you better shut up and do your shit if you want to maintain your cover. So that was nicely done. But you could see how angry he was because right after that meeting, he asked Alam Bhai for dimethyl mercury. He's like, "Mujhe dimethyl mercury chahiye." I was like, "You go, son." At that time, I was confused. Ye kya mang raha hai? But second view, I was like, "Yeah, I would ask for the same thing." Like, if he could kill him in that moment, he would have killed him. But he knows that if I kill this man now, I'm not getting out of this place alive, right? Can't do it. Imagine the frustration that spies feel. Okay, now we see while he's talking to Alam Bhai and asking for this dimethyl, news पे उन्हें दिखता है कि उरी में अटैक हो गया है. तो अब 2 साल निकल गए हैं since the Modi ji swearing in ceremony. Now here is another thing I must mention about the timeline is that बहुत linear, I mean चल रहा था वो linear, लेकिन काफी cinematic liberty ली है, especially when it comes to the killing of the by the unknown gunmen. तो वो काफी इस साल में ये मरा था, इस साल में ये मरा था, वो ऐसे ऐसे सब मिक्स हो गए हैं, and so the timeline becomes a little right. So मोदी जी वाला सीन हुआ, वो 2014 था. उसके इमीडिएटली उसी सीन में दाऊद का फोन आता है कि मिलने आओ. अब ये मिलने आ रहे हैं, मिलने के बाद हम आ गए हैं इस सीन में और हमें उरी का वो न्यूज आ रही है. तो इस टाइम फ्रेम में इट शुड हैव बीन लाइक अ वीक, but it is 2 years. So anyway, those are all cinematic liberties we'll have to just think. And now cut to, we are doing the deal of the drugs. So the druggies arrive from Punjab. The airport scene happens. And here is where I need to take a break. I'll be back. Sorry, I had to take a break. There was something happening, but where were we? We were at the airport scene where he picks up Inda, and that moment when he sees him, I didn't recognize him. I'm like, why is he looking so stressed? Who is that guy? And then the flashback, and I was like, that's his best friend. Holy crap. And from that moment onwards, we don't know what's going to happen next because his cover can get blown any second from here on. So for him to not panic and to proceed like nothing has happened and hope for the best, I mean, can you imagine the tension in his brain? Everything that Ranveer is going through is like every scene, he's just perfection, man. So that happens. And gaadi mein baithte hain. When they meet, there's no recognition. So we're like, thank God. As collectively as an audience, we heave a sigh of relief. And अब वो गाड़ी में बैठ गए. Then they have that conversation कि आप कहाँ से हो और ये वो पठानकोट कभी गए हो. And then he says one very amazing line, which again, I'm like, Aditya, man, thank you for including this because now you've established why this guy is here. He's like, Punjab जब आजाद हो जाएगा ना, I will take you to पठानकोट. ऐसा वो बोलता है, and then you're like, oh, okay, he's turned Khalisani. Great, got it. How dumb. No wonder he's there in Pakistan anyway. So he establishes that guy's leanings right there with that one sentence in the car. And I was just sitting there and rolling my eyes and I was like, what is this fantasy and dream that's never gonna happen? So wo hua. But I was feeling so bad for Hamza because I was like, bro, right now I don't know what your heartbeat is, at what speed it's racing, because every second you're spending in the presence of this guy is stressful. He is there, and now he's in that furniture shop where the deal is being done, and he's watching his best friend just inhale all these drugs like it's child's play and like something he does every day. And it's like I left him with the responsibility to look after my sister and my mom and to turn a new leaf and go towards better things in life. and this is what he's become. So clearly, Jussie was the only positive influence and force in this guy's life, because his dad was clearly a drug dealer. So at home, he's never going to have the right influence. But just Kirat and his like entire thing to become an army officer, coming from an army officer's home and background, probably the only positive or good influence that he had in his life. And when that disappeared as well, and you know, with all the drug mafia growth in the state, clearly this man went down the wrong path and landed up here in front of him, being this new drug lord. My God, did you see the list? And did you see the tray that they? Oh, sorry, I missed the moment. The moment where he meets Zahur Mistri in the furniture shop. ये हमारे बहुत खास हैं. इनका ख्याल हम रखते हैं. How can I forget the scene? Another brilliant Aditya Dhar scene. where ये जहूर मिस्त्री भाई साहब की दुकान जिनकी थी उनको जलाया जा रहा था. That scene was the reintroduction of Major Iqbal in this part 2, right? In the Revenge. They are walking up the stairs talking, and वहाँ साजिद मीर से शुरू हुआ था वो scene where he is chanting the chants of that mindset वाले लोग जो अपना सरतन से whatever nonsense they chant. वो सीन चल रहा है, ये भाई साहब ये कर रहे हैं, नाम लाइक क्या होने वाला है. I was so like stressed in that scene, and these guys are casually walking up the stairs and watching the going ons. They're dragging some guy out of his house and beating him in public, and these two are just standing there and watching like, yeah, ये तो रोज का है हमारा, like what the f, what the f. And then this guy Asim की क्यों रहमान को क्यों मारा तुम लोगों ने. This one I don't know if that story is true or not, that whole दाऊद भाई का वो बड़े साहब का बदला and whatever, जो भी है. Actually, I don't know if that story has any relevance, but anyway, so he killed him and got him killed, और इसका उनका काम मैंने कर दिया. And then Major Iqbal's listening, and he's like, okay. Then he does what he does, which is show people how nasty he is, which he did in part 1 with that torture scene. Now he's going to show SP Aslam how nasty he is, because he's like, we had this guy who hijacked this Indian plane for us, and we take care of the people who served us well. And he wanted to open a dukan, और उनको इनकी दुकान पसंद आई. The guy didn't want to let go of his पुश्तैनी दुकान, तो हमने छानबीन करी और पता चला कि सरदार है, सिख है. And that again is Aditya Dhar's way of putting into the film ground reality of what goes on in Pakistan with the minorities there, which is the Hindus and Sikhs, and how they are constantly falsely accused about these kind of things, burnt alive, kidnapped, raped. I mean, Hindu girls are though in broad daylight, they are picked up and kidnapped and taken. And you should actually follow this guy, I think Ashish Chandwani, I think his name is, I don't know his exact name, but find him. He is actually doing a lot of on-ground real work rescuing Hindu refugees from Bangladesh and Pakistan who are being threatened, or like just not even threatened, but just like their lives are in danger, or they've already gone through crazy amounts of BS. So anyway, that guy is on ground rescuing girls and families, and if you haven't seen his reels, you should. But these are like ground realities, and that was Aditya Dhar's way of placing that right at the start in the middle of our story, because he was like, we need to show this. It is what kind of goes on, and in some subtle way as part of the story and weaved into the goings-ons, I must show it. So वो उनका हो रहा है नारेबाजी, और ये अपनी सिगरेट जलाते हैं और उनको जला दिया जाता है, like live. We don't even care, we'll just burn them alive. And something recently like that happened in Bangladesh. We all saw the videos, horrific videos. And did I see anyone from Bollywood's brigade who post about Gaza and all? Did we see any of them posting anything about that lynching and that murder, that broad daylight murder? No, of course not. Of course not, because it was a Hindu minority man lynched in public. But anyway, coming back. So, I mean, I doff my hat to Aditya Dhar's ballsiness, because nobody has had it. Nobody has had it. Very few, if any, have had it. And he is to be applauded, because I'll come to all of that later. But man, the way he's introduced elements like the introduction of this Brigadier Jahangir, he had to bring a figure from that 71 war into the story. He had to, because there were so many things that needed to be said by this person. And then that bubble of his getting burst at the end by his own son, we'll come to all of that. But the way he's placed these characters and these moments and these scenes, beautiful. So coming back, now that guy burnt that man and his wife alive and got their furniture shop जहाँ पे ये meeting हो रही है. और when Ranveer looks at him and he says उनका नाम, ये एक जमाने में ज़हूर मिस्त्री इनका नाम हुआ करता था. That look that Ranveer gave there, like, oh, you're the guy I have to kill very horrifically, and you're the guy that I'm gonna get great pleasure in sending to the 72s. That look on his face was just beautiful. So वो आ गया उनकी list में से वो नाम उनके सामने, and then these guys, he's like, I'm gonna take all this stuff, and he reads out his long list. वहाँ पे पैसों की बात होती है, deal done. And Ranveer very smartly is like looking confused. His acting, by the way, so all the acting that he has been taught in his training, and just him as an actor, वो acting में acting कर रहे हैं, right? So I love it. I love it. So the way he asks कि इतना सारा सामान आप कैसे ले जाओगे? You know, how is it possible? वहाँ पे तो चलता रहता है border force का ये. So he's like, अरे हमारे पास ये है, underground tunnels हैं, drones हैं, कश्मीर के लोग हैं, sympathetic वाले, नेपाल side से है, यूपी से है, नॉर्थ ईस्ट से हमारे. So he's explaining the whole thing, and we're like, and again in the first watch, I was just taking it as a film goer, as an audience. In the second time, when I was critically watching the movie, I was just like noting all these things that Aditya is placing in to just tell people through the medium of a brilliant commercial mainstream cinematic experience that this is going on. Guys, wake up and see this is going on. These are the things. I need to spell it out for you in the dialogues of my movie. And you need to remember that these things are going on. So beautifully placed there, that whole party, that whole scene. And then he asks him for a party, right? He's like, hum to, you know, Jashan, desi Jashan we want and all. That again is Pinda's character trying to get alone time with this Jassi dude. Like, hum club nahi jayenge, hame desi wo chahiye and all that. So he then hosts a party at his place. Yeah, now this party is going on, and this SP Aslam tells these two कि उज़ैर आ रहा है, वो extradite हो रहा है और उसको हम लेने जा रहे हैं. And this guy, both of them are like stressed, like, dude, he's gonna kill you. He's like, oh, he won't even reach the jail. I'll just encounter him on the way. And all that is happening. And this one knows that I have to save Uzair. So Ranveer's mind, you can literally see the wheels turning, the thought wheels turning. You can see that on Jamali's face as well. And then that bathroom scene happens. Now I don't know what to say, but ओ बाय द वे, यहाँ पे पार्टी में लोग गाना गा रहे थे ना, वो दुनिया में आए हो तो लव कर लो, वो चल रहा था. और फिर बाद में जब वो बाथरूम से बाहर आया तो बाजीगर वो चल रहा था, राइट? द प्लेसमेंट ऑफ द सॉन्ग्स, ब्यूटीफुल. सो एनीवे, अब वो बाथरूम सीन हुआ. He gives a look to his wife as he enters the bathroom. I was just like, something's gonna happen, but I wasn't sure. And then that dialogue just before the interval, I cannot tell you, I was so stressed. I was so stressed the first time that I'd gone alone, but there was someone sitting next to me who had also come to watch the movie alone. Everyone else left and went to the loo. I looked at him. I didn't know this person. I just looked at him. I'm like, he's gonna kill him. He's gonna kill him, right? Like, I literally just started talking to a stranger and saying, and the guy was like, firstly shocked that I'm talking to him. Then he's like, yeah, I think he's gonna kill him. So both of us were so stressed. Whoever you were, I don't know if you'll ever watch this, but yeah, it was stressful, man. It was stressful, that moment, and they had to cut right then. I was like, why? Best interval moment ever that I have ever seen in Hindi cinema. I'm just saying it. So okay, that happens. But the amount of drugs that guy was taking, like, what is wrong with you? Why do people abuse their bodies like this? I just don't understand. It's so terrible. You're effing the one temple you have. Anyways, interval ho gaya wahan pe. Very stressful, guys. Very stressful. Already, now that I've reached interval point, I don't even know how long I've been recording, but okay, we will continue. Now, up till now, only 3 chapters have happened. Hey guys, I'm back. Sorry, I'm taking quite a few breaks today while recording this review because it's getting very intense for me. And I had to take a break, which got a bit extended into a couple of hours. And I'm back. We need to talk about this in detail. I don't want to put it off for the next day. But it is very, very draining to anyway, it's fine. Let's get on with it. So now the interval has ended and we've come back, and chapter 4 begins, which is called Trial by Fire. I think it was right after the interval that chapter 4 appeared, or maybe it was right after the Lou scene, but I think it was right after the interval. Trial by fire, and you're just like, oh my god. And I know why by fire was also used here. I'll come to that. But ठीक है, अब वो तुझे घर की याद नहीं आई, Jesse has happened. Oh my god, firstly, wrongday happened in that scene. Just like, I was like this in the cinema, my elbows like on my knees, and I was like, anyway, that whole exchange between them is really weird because he's like, I recognized you, but I didn't but I didn't want to say anything, which kind of also I think made Jussie feel like, okay, he didn't give away my cover immediately, so he still cares for me as his childhood best friend. So wo hua. And then this guy was like, how is mom, how is Harleen या Jasleen है ना, and क्या हाल बना रखा है, and he's like, yeah, whatever. You can tell that he's not the same boy he was, right? Who said bye to his friend. He's obviously become someone who now feels like he knows it all, and he's not answerable to anyone and doesn't want anyone questioning his choices or his way of being. So that thoda attitude और वो है उसके सब face में और body language में. And then he says कि ये लोग, something he says about, हमारे nation के लिए और country के लिए कुछ था वहाँ पे dialogue. And then पिंडा replies कि कौन सा देश जिसने कभी हमें अपना नहीं समझा, which again is Aditya Dhar's subtle planting of the Khalistani problem, which is so idiotic and dumb. Like you're just like, what are you talking about? Are you dumb? And then you again see the second moment where you realize that he's very deeply brainwashed by the Khalistani thing. So wo hua, usne wo bola, and then he just starts fighting this one. That whole fight scene, and I've seen now while I was waiting to do this recording session the past couple of days, I saw a bit of his interview. This actor, by the way, he did a fabulous job in both his roles as the young and the older version. So yeah, the actor who's played the role of Pinda, I forget his real name, but I did see a clip of his interview, and that's all I've been doing the last 2-3 days because I was like, I have to record my movie review, and while I'm unable to record and sit for a recording session, let me just see, some of the interviews that pop up on my feed, so I can understand what went into those scenes as I'm talking about them. So he and Ranveer had rehearsed that scene, the fight that is, with their fight directors. So all of that was well choreographed and done, but I think he said that वो scene 3 दिन में shoot हुआ था. So, and that whole prosthetics, makeup, and the whole needle in the eye and all that, crazy. And apparently that whole hallucination that he's having with Ranveer, it's all, it was real. It was not AI. It was actual makeup, and Ranveer actually got into that entire thing and did all of that. And obviously they shot their parts separately, but crazy, right? So this guy, he said कि हमने पूरी मूवी एक ही उसमें 7 घंटे की मूवी सब एक ही मूवी समझ के शूट किया था. तो he's like, I didn't know that dialogue of mine would be at that point in the interval scene. I had no idea, but that is one of the most memorable interval points ever, probably. So he was quite happy about that, but he also, as an actor, says that he was a little unsure, like, how did I do? I don't know if I was able to do justice to the scene. And he went and asked Aditya, and Aditya Dhar looked at him and said, kya pooch rahe ho? Are you mad? You have no idea what you've done. So he's like, that was the biggest compliment for me. But really, that entire scene was something else. And I think that scene can also be counted, and the scene after, that entire sequence from the time they enter the bathroom till the time Ranveer walks out after shooting his friend Alam. That entire sequence can be considered one of the best of Ranveer Singh's career. And every actor supporting him in that scene, Gaurav Gera to the actor who played Pinda, oh my God, insane. So that conversation, confrontation, and imagine what Ranveer's character is going through in that moment where he's like, this is my childhood best friend. Oh my God, I'm so happy to see him. But oh my God, what has he made of himself? Oh my God, he's of a mindset that I don't even recognize anymore. His habits, his way of life, everything about him, I just cannot I cannot come to terms with it. And the fact that he's married to my sister and has sons, like has fathered my sister's children, and he's part of my family. So what do I do now? And obviously he did not want to kill him. That was not his intention. And that's what I thought in the whole First of all, the cinemas, how long are the intervals, man? Like, you need to relax. You cannot have a 30-minute interval. So anyway, in that whole 30-minute interval, I was just sitting there thinking of the possible scenarios that could play out now. And I was like, I'm sure he doesn't want to kill him. Why would he want to kill his best friend from childhood who's married to his sister? That cannot be it. But then how else is he going to get a way out of this? So millions of like scenarios playing in my mind, like Doctor Strange. I'm like, ye ho sakta hai, wo ho sakta hai, aise kar. Obviously, he had to die, but it had to be an accident. And then the entire reaction that was visible on Ranveer's face when he saw that he's fallen on the tub, he's dead, and he pushes himself back on the ground and he's just like, oh shit, what the hell has happened? Like, you can see that the spy who has everything worked out, who has mapped out every possible scenario and knows how he's going to play the people over there, something like this happens that's so close to home, so close to his heart, and it throws him for a loop. That confusion, that fear, that regret, almost all of that that's visible on Ranveer's face in that moment. Oh my God. Oh my God. And as audiences, we don't know what happens next because all we hear is that knock on the door. And the next thing we see is that he has come out of the bathroom into the party and he starts now chugging whiskey and singing Bazigar oh Bazigar. And it is so well placed, that song and that line. And I was like, what? सौदा प्यार का किया है दिल की बाजी जीता दिल हार कर बाजीगर वो बाजी वही चल रहा है, right? I don't know, I can't remember exactly, but his expression as he walked out of that bathroom, because in my mind I was thinking कि वो उसकी डेड बॉडी वहीं पे छोड़ के आ गया है और अब वो पार्टी में वेट करेगा कि कोई वहां पे किसी को वो लाश दिख जाए और फिर वो प्रिटेंड करे कि उसे कि ये ओवरडोज करके इसने अपने आप को मार लिया है, और हम सब घर जाएंगे thinking it's a suicide or it's an accidental self-inflicted death situation. I was not emotionally prepared for what came next. Were you? Were you? I was not. What the hell? And so now he's standing there and he's getting drunk. Somebody screams, everybody rushes. SP Assam is the last one. And I was like, SP Assam I was like, you cannot be standing there with your back to the rest of the crowd and not acting like you are equally surprised and figuring out what's going on. That was a dead giveaway in that moment where for the first time I felt like this is a dead giveaway that he knows what happened inside. He should not be standing there and not acting like, oh shit, what happened? Let's go inside with everyone else. So I just felt a little bit over there. But again, I feel like just for this, like, thoda extra dramatization of that moment and to focus on his face and his like face expression there where he's just like his heart is sinking because he knows what he did in there, which is like resulted in his childhood best friend's death. But the reason he's there and he's getting drunk and he's looking so pained while he's singing that song and that dancing with people is also because he knows what he has to do next, which you and I didn't know at the time. So he has to kill someone else next as he walks back into that loo, pretending to be drunk. Just the brilliance of that scene and Ranveer's expressions and his eyes and his pain that he cannot express is just freaking flawless, beautiful. I cannot praise it enough. That scene was gut-wrenching. He walked in, that Omar cop guy is holding this Gaurav Gera and saying, ye Indian agent hai. And Gaurav Gera, that last look, that pleading wala look, that mujhe abhi maar do. I've served my country enough and time for me to go. That whole look he gave Ranveer. And then Ranveer acting drunk and shooting him on the spot. And that entire thing that जो acting उन्होंने की है वहाँ पे, उससे आपका like system को इतना shock लगा. I was just like, what the hell is going on? What is this? This is not how we saw this playing out. Just, yeah. I was very upset with Aditya Dhar at this point. I was like, why did you have to do that? What was the need? What was the need? And the way he acts, you can see all his training and his acting training in the army has paid off here, because this was the scene that he got those acting lessons for. But the way he acted like, I'm pissed off that they entered my house. Hamza Ali Mazari ka ghar hai ye, aur mere ghar mein aake mere guest ko marega, whatever. And he shoots him, and it comes across as this guy who's drunk on power and takes matters into his own hands and does this. Chaudhry Aslam there is like, maza aaya Baloch. And he's like, And then when he walks, did you guys notice what he did? He, before exiting, he turned to Rizwan, and with that same anger and pissed off acting of his, he says, "Lashe jala dena inki," which is basically him telling his fellow spy ki, please give them, um, you know, give them the kind of see off that they deserve and they need. Like, so he made sure that um they got their cremation, basically. But yeah, I was like, beautifully done, Aditya, Ranveer, everyone who wrote this scene. Just hats off. And he says, "Inki lashe jala dena," and I was like, oh my god, he made sure his friend gets a proper cremation. Friends, imagine, Jaskirat lost his best friend and Hamza lost his best friend. Like, in that one scene, you lost both your best friends um of both your lifetimes, right? And the way he walked out and his face expression, oh my god, somebody give him all the awards, please. That लाशें जला देना इनकी जैसे बोला है ना उसने रिजवान को, I was just like, oh shit. I wanted to like break down and cry at that point. And then when he goes to the chai shop now, that is, वहां मैं इतना रोई हूँ, like it was his face expression as he walked out and said लाशें जला देना उनकी, that I felt the lump forming in my throat. And then as he sat in that shop and he ordered 2 cups of chai and then chugged one, and the song that was playing was the Kanhare song. Poof. God. Yeah. Poof. Very difficult to talk after this scene because I just asked, why did you have to do that, Aditya? You know, and I know the answer. He had to do that because he had to show one of the spies dying. He had to give us that reality check. You and me, we had to be shown that they are unknown, they are unnamed. When we lose them, we can't even give them uh, the kind of rights uh, that they should be given, the kind of honor, the kind of naming, the kind of uh, send off that they deserve for serving the nation and been in service of the security of the nation for so long. And there are so many like Alam Bhai, right? We had to be shown that scene as audiences to drive home the point that exactly what Alam said in his last this thing, कि मैं अपने बरेली का एक पॉकेट मार देश की सेवा में अपनी जान दे दी, मेरे लिए काफी है, मैं अपने हिस्से की जंग लड़ चुका हूँ एंड अब मुझसे वो हक मत छीन, that to serve my nation and all of that. And he said, मुझे कोई याद रखे ना रखे, तू रखना. You guys, it's getting very difficult to talk. Anyway, so he had to show us that. And I think Gaurav Gera gave us one of the most beautifully played characters ever in Indian cinema. And I just want to say thank you to him for that role that he played. It was so beautifully written. He played that character so well, and it was so right from his first scene to all his scenes with Hamza in the chai shop, during moments when they needed to talk to each other face to face. Every second as the support to push Hamza to where he's supposed to get on his mission. Just beautiful, and such a like that entire ending of his characters that happened was such a lesson for all of us. Um, to just be, oh, we are just forever indebted, and we cannot be grateful enough to those like him who we will never know of. We will never know of, and we will just um yeah, we will never know of them, and they don't want that for themselves. They just want to do their karma and perform their dharma and then leave the earth as and when they are meant to. and that entire dialogue exchange was just heartbreaking. And imagine what Hamza or a comrade who's there goes through when they lose one of their own, and they know that, I can't tell anyone about him and what he did and how much he did for the country, and that story is gonna only stay with me. So that entire scene where Hamza's sitting in the chai shop and having that chai as a last like one for the road for his friend, वहाँ पे कान्हा रे song, I don't know the name of the song, but वो lyrics जो चल रहे थे, I was just bawling my eyes out. um Powerful, very powerful. Entire one of the most powerful pre-interval moments and one of the most powerful post-interval sequences ever in Indian cinema. Just beautiful. So thank you, Aditya, for sequencing it like that. Now, SP Aslam and Omar, unko shak ho gaya hai. Sarah has overheard, Yalina has overheard what they're talking about, and she finds his diary. As if that previous scene was not enough, now we see another scene with Ranveer Singh at his most vulnerable, brilliant, best ever. I mean, there are so many scenes in Dhurandhar 1 and 2, and more so in 2, where Ranveer is just, I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I have loved him from Band Baja Barat. I was such a big fan. Um, I was such a big fan. Everybody who was around me then knows. I was his fan in Baji Rao. I was his fan after Gully Boy. I was his fan after Lutera. The guy has range. I've been a fan of that range. But the way he showed range in this film, oh man, oh man. That scene with Yalina, both of them, both those actors have excelled beyond. It's all face. The frames are all just this much. There's hardly any, there's just a couple of shots of them both being shown sitting on the ground facing each other. But otherwise, it's all here and it's all here. Oh my God. What a powerful scene. I doff my hat to Sara Arjun for the way she played that scene. The imagine one, your entire her, anyone in that position, they have probably like their stomach has somersaulted like 20,000 times. Their heart has stopped beating. Like, you just suddenly get a jolt. Like my entire love life, my husband, my whole thing, everything is a lie. He's a spy. Like, I didn't know who my husband is, like your whole world kind of comes crashing down on you. And her expression when she sees all that stuff in his diary, the fear, the anger or the sadness and everything just mix. And then when she confronts him, um, she's angry at first and it looks like I was just like, suddenly, why are we so patriotic? She's like, mere mulk pe aayi hai baat and all that. And I was like, okay, fine. But at least it showed that she did not have the courage to shoot him, even though she was pointing a gun at him. She loved him too much to be able to actually carry out that dhamki of her holding the gun. And she breaks down and she's like, kill me, right? I'm the only one who actually loved you. That's when the actual anger came out. It was not about the mulk or the thing. It was about you betrayed me and you lied to me and you took advantage of me and you never really loved me. That was the bigger betrayal for her. So she says कि वैसे भी प्यार तो मैंने ही किया है, तुम्हारे लिए तो आसान होगा मुझे मारना. And then his look on his face, that helplessness. I just can't. That helplessness. He's like, I'm not gonna kill her. I cannot, because he's not like, it was so obvious that he's not lied through this, right? He genuinely cares about her and probably like loves her. So I can't kill you, but I can tell you my truth and I can tell you why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I'm hoping and I'm praying that you get why I'm doing this. And I really desperately want you to understand why I'm doing this. So he takes that chance and he tells her his truth. And that is one of the most powerful scenes because it was so important for Aditya to tell people that whatever our agencies, our spies, whoever it is, whatever our armed forces are doing, whatever our stand as a nation is not against the country or its people who are probably, like us, who just want to live a peaceful life. He had to put that scene somewhere, and what a beautiful way to put it between the husband and wife when the wife discovers this, because there is like, I have the same situation when I'm talking to people who have watched my channel from Pakistan over the years. I have never had anything but respect for everyone, including your artists and any creator and anyone who has been part of my community here on the channel. And just because I am with the intentions of my, the sankalp that my nation has taken, because of how much we've suffered, does not make this a jung against all of the mankind that exists on the other side of the border. It does not. And the way he beautifully communicated that to her and said, please find one name on this that has not been the cause of, terror attacks, or that is one innocent name on this list. And these are the people who are doing what they're doing within your country. And you know very well that they're as poisonous to you all as they are for us. So, and then he's like, please believe me. I'm pleading you to believe me. And once I'm done with my mission, you can hand me over to whoever you want. But these people have hurt my country and I need to get to that. So, I mean, that was just such a beautiful, honest, powerful scene, because it was Aditya's way of talking directly to the people who might want to believe that this is a movie that's full of hate for an entire nation or its people. It was, and the way they both, like just the way Sarah's expressions were changing as he was talking, and the way he was pointing out which terrorist did what, was in charge of her expressions, her eyes, everything, the way it kept changing. I was like, man, this girl is brilliant. This girl is brilliant. Like I felt like I would probably react the same way she did. And she understood who he was and why he was doing what he was doing. And she turns away from him, gives him his book back, and she's like, you better move fast and you better not put my son in harm's way. That's it. That is all I care about in this moment. And I'm finished. Ooh, and then that first moment where he ends that scene with his hands on his forehead and tears rolling down his face, because he's like, man, like, can you imagine how much emotional shit he has just been through? He killed both his best friends. Now he's had this kind of a showdown with his wife, and it's all too much, man. And you realize in that moment that Ranveer Singh in part one of Dhurandhar was not the scene stealer in every moment and every scene. He was lurking in the background. He was in the shadows doing what he was supposed to do. Um, in this movie, um, in part two, that is, he is again, even though he is king of Karachi and he is king of Liari and whatnot, Shere Baloch and everything, he is still not this, traditional kind of hero that we see in Hindi movies. He is a human, man. He will break down. He will feel pain and he will get hit by people fighting him physically. He will bleed. He will, and he will have this vulnerable side to him that we saw in the chai shop and now in front of his wife. Like, it is human. It is real. And nobody cares about seeing figures that are larger than life, or like a James Bond or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, we don't want to see those kind of spies or those kind of movies anymore, because this is what we want to see. This is real, man. So anyway, I just freaking love that scene. The second time I was watching the movie and that scene was going on, I was in awe. I was in awe. So now she has warned him about SP Aslam, and you see it's registered, and he's like, fuck, I gotta kill that guy. So I was like, yes, finally. I don't like that guy. He just keeps killing Baloch kids unnecessarily just because his wife cheated on him with one. I mean, what is that? What kind of motivation is that? Like, he was literally a terrorist. Now he knows he has to handle this SP threat before it gets to him. So, sir, whenever Hamza has a problem, he goes and meets the Baloch people. It's just hilarious. So now he plans this entire thing. He goes and meets the head of the Baloch and tells them कि इसने ये किया है आपके लड़कों के साथ और आपके grandson के साथ, उसने लाके उसे गोली मार दी थी, and there's only one way to handle this guy. We gotta blow him up and get rid of him. So now they have picked the suicide bomber that they're gonna get involved for this situation. And then that whole thing about, हाँ उजैर को मैं पिकअप करने जा रहा हूँ, okay, ये होगा. And then he calls him and says, ये रास्ता ले लो, ये मत लेना. We know why he's saying that. SP thinks he's one step ahead and sends, that whole guldasta leke jana was just hilarious. I was cracking up. And then they show Omar putting one rose on his grave. Hilarious. So funny. So for me, the best moment in this entire sequence was when Tamma Tamma Loge started playing. I mean, it's so poetic because one is one of the biggest hit songs of that era. Two, it's ironic because it's from a film called Thanedar, where also he played a cop. And it was such a beautiful tribute to Sanjay Dutt's legacy and his filmography and his everything. Like, it's just like gorgeous, gorgeous, you guys. I was just like, Shashwat and team, whoever picked this song, chef's kiss, so good. So now Tama Tama Loge has happened. This one has gone this way, this one has gone this way, and I'm thinking, ये कहाँ गया? ये suicide bomber सही रास्ते पे है या नहीं? I'm just like stressed about it. So that happened, and then I love that last exchange between them. क्या बोला उसने? रणवीर calls him and he's like, ये जिंदगी भर अफसोस रहेगा कि आप ना तो मुझे वो और ना ही जमील साहब को वो बना पाए, है ना? So hilarious. And this guy is like, ओवर कॉन्फिडेंट नहीं होना चाहिए, मैं वो एसपी असलम वो जिन है जो भी something something, he's about to finish that dialogue and boom, literally boom happens. So yeah, and then he turns to Jamil Jamali and says, एक बड़ा गुलदस्ता लेके जाइएगा. And the next thing we see that big wreath and Omar coming with that one flower. Hilarious. So funny, man. And this, by the way, is where we see the Director General of the ISI the first time. What was his name? Shamshad Hassan. Shamshad Hassan is shown. And as soon as they introduced that character in that scene, I was like, who's this? Why at this moment? But then it becomes obvious to us. So now SP Aslam has died. Again, a little creative liberty was taken with the year of his death and blah, blah, blah in the timeline, because this obviously happened after 2016. But apparently SP Aslam was killed. One sec, let me just check. I think he died in a blast in the year 2014. So little, that's what I was saying. A little creative liberty was taken in terms of the deaths and the timeline years. So because we just saw Uri attack, so we are already in 2016. But now here we have chapter 5, which says unknown men. Love it. They have removed the word gun, but just unknown men has come on screen. And now we see Bhai Sahab entering the airport and about to take a flight, और वो टीवी चैनल के न्यूज पे देखते हैं कि इंडिया ने उरी का जवाब दे दिया है, अंदर घुस के मारा था हमने, और वो तो उस पे फिल्म पूरी बन चुकी है, so we've seen it. And he sees that, oh my god, my country has responded for the first time the way they should have done all these years. So imagine his joy. So he sees that, he boards his flight, he enters Dubai. Now here again, one thing I found odd, which I feel like it was cinematic liberty, but it would never happen in real life, is when he enters the hotel room in Dubai, and immediately he pulls a gun out and he's carrying a gun, and that will never happen in Dubai. Like, you will never see a gun on a normal like civilian person in Dubai. So that was very odd to me. I'm like, how can you be walking around with a gun on you? I don't know, or is it allowed? I don't know, not that I'm aware. So anyway, wo hua, he enters, Manav Gohil is sitting there, love it. And then Bhai Sahab, Ajay Sanyal ji comes and he's like, so you see how his body language changed? I was just like, man, this is the king of Karachi and the Don. And and in front of Ajay Sanyal, immediately he relaxes. He goes into that stance that you do when you're in front of a senior. And he immediately goes into yes, sir mode, which was amazing to me after all those years. So now he meets them, he tells them whatever, all that conversation happens. And then that line that Ajay Sanyal says, कि इंडिया में अब हवा बदल रही है. So अब उरी का response हमने दे दिया है. So literally हवा बदल गई है. And you can see the ease with which Ajay Sanyal says this, where he's like, we're dealing with a different situation back home now. And that brings him the confidence to meet this one here and give him new sort of instructions face to face कि अब हम इस phase में enter कर रहे हैं as a nation, so you need to know that now you have a free hand. When he said that, I was just like, aha. So he tells him about all the Nakli notes that are going to come from Yaqub Ansari in Nepal, tells him about the UP government and what is happening, and how unless that guy is no, does he tell him about Atif Ahmed, or he doesn't yet? But anyway, so yeah, this one tells him that we are talking to the government and हमारी Middle East के साथ दोस्ती हो गई है, so we can start isolating this nation financially at least. And then when he says that dialogue, by the way, now you have a free hand, जाओ करो जो तुम्हें करना है, and बिगाड़ने का वक्त आ गया है. The amount of cheering that happened in the cinema. And then when he says Hausla, Indhan Badla, oh ho, the hooting. Loved it. And by the way, I don't know if you all noticed, nothing that Aditya Dhar focuses on, even for half a second, is meaningless. You know, there's always meaning behind it. And this was literally a blink and miss thing, which I didn't notice in the first screening. But in the second watch, I caught it and I was like, holy shit, what? Like literally for 2 seconds, he showed that Ajay Sanyal was stubbing out his, he was like stubbing his cigarette and putting the ash in the ashtray. And then he took the cigarette stub and he pocketed it. Did you guys see that? Did you guys see that? He pocketed the cigarette stub. He left nothing behind in that hotel room. And I was Googling that later. I'm like, why did he do that? Why did he do that? And then you realize that that's just the way spies and these guys work. They don't leave any DNA traces behind, and they don't like try to leave fingerprints behind or anything that can be used for a DNA match or to prove that they were there. I don't know. So that's what I saw online. But when I caught that, I was like, whoa, what just happened? Very blink and miss. Literally, it was blink and miss. But yeah, as they get back, they've got now all the money hawala news from this guy that itna India mein aane wala hai. And this one says, let's prepare the file and all the evidence we've collected so far. Let's prepare it, and I have to meet the PM and HM. And Operation Greenleaf ka time aa gaya hai. Oh ho, bhai sahab. And then we see Modi ji's speech, 500,000 rupee notes, demonetization, all that happens. Again, I will say here that anyone who has a problem with this and calls it like, oh, this is a Modi propaganda movie or this is a Modi fanboy movie and all that. Yeah, so what? If Aditya Dhar is a Modi fanboy, so what? So what? A lot of people have been fanboys of other things and other people in the past, and they have put it all in their movies. And you all have lapped it up in the past. If Aditya Dhar is a Modi fanboy, so what? And this doesn't even prove that he's a Modi fanboy. This just proves that he is showing you history as it happened. Are you saying that speech didn't happen and that event didn't happen? It happened. Deal with it. And there were reasons it happened. And the effect of that happening was very evident in everything that followed, from the stone pelting that came down to all the networks, all the terror networks that slowly collapsed and went silent or dead, to this Khanani killing himself, etc., etc. There were so many repercussions, and it's all over. It's just factual stuff. Like he showed 2611 in the last thing, he showed the rest of what happened in the years after. So, deal. And even if he's a Modi fanboy, so what? Everyone's allowed to have their political leanings. You don't like it, don't watch it. But you can't deny that that's reality, and showing reality is not propaganda or any such bullshit. So, okay, wo ho gaya. And I mean, I just love that scene because I think वो scene था, और फिर कहाँ था वो scene of that guy, हाँ नहीं, वो राम मंदिर वाला सीन था. एनीवे, सो ये हो गया, और फिर आई थिंक वो शुरू हो गए डेथ्स वहां से, स्टार्टिंग विद खनानी. So all the deaths now start happening one after another. I loved this entire sequence. That unknown men wala chapter was my favorite chapter. Just say, but Khanani panics, calls Major Iqbal, who of course does not have time for his friends in times of need, and then he calls our bro, and he's like, "आप कहाँ हो? Factory में अकेले हो?" Yes, very good. Loves it. So that happened, and Bhai Saab goes with Rizwan, and of course he's gonna burn everything. Now, why did he pocket one of the notes before he reaches the terrace? I don't know. Evidence. I saw a very hilarious tweet. Somebody tweeted, why did Hamza pocket one of the 500 rupee notes or whatever 1,000 rupee notes before killing Khanani and before burning the entire factory? And somebody replied to that tweet saying, Pakistan ko kharidne ke liye. Just saying. So funny, yaar. Okay, so that happened, and that was a sweet. That man really pissed me off during the entire 2611 planning and all those scenes. And in real life, him and his brother were behind so much bullshit. एक तो अमेरिका में ही सड़ रहा था, and then this one, like, I don't know, man. People are such a waste of space. So anyway, that throwing him down with that weird like neon light when they enter the terrace, or वो एक neon sign जो भी Coca-Cola था या जो भी था वो sign उधर. I was like, why is there a sign on top of this weird factory where fake notes are getting made? But ठीक है, it was for that Batman shot. They realized 5 seconds later when Aditya Dhar shows Ranveer Singh on top of the roof with that red light behind him. I was like, you had to, right? You had to. clearly he's also a Batman fan. But yeah, अब that line he says to him before throwing him down कि मैं ऐसे ही घुट के रहा हूँ 15 साल तुम लोगों के बीच में, और अब कितनी बार मन करा कि तुम्हें मार दूं एंड व्हाटएवर, अब सही वक्त है, अच्छा हुआ तब नहीं किया, सही वक्त अब है. That was again a very like we are in this era, new era of India, तो सही वक्त अब है. Beautiful, beautiful. I loved it. So that happened. And now, meantime in India, Ajay Sanyal has gone to the DGP of UP Police and given him the whole file on this Atif Ahmed person and says, now it's up to you. So these guys have picked him up and arrested him, right? अब वो हो गया उधर. Now इधर आते हैं तो सब killings one after another शुरू हो गई. And I sat and I was trying to, do my own research. So I prepared a whole like list who are the people in real life. This is all the names in real life that were killed. I could have easily just chat GPT'd and researched this, but I went online, I think, and I wrote everything down. And a lot of the names that were shown in the movie checked out on this, right? They totally checked out. So the first was Yami Gautam scene, which we were like, why didn't she have a bigger role? But okay, it's all good. She comes in and kills this guy who planned 26/11. Conspirator. Uska hospital में heart failure हुआ था, so she is the one who put that thing in his IV. Abdul Rahman Makki. So again, true story. Then we see Syed Khalid Raza, who was a Al Badr commander. That is also true story. Confirmed. Then there's a Amarjeet Singh, who was the Khalistan something commander something. Uska naam I think change kiya hai, because in real life it was Paramjeet Panjwar, Khalistan comrade chief something, commander chief something, gunned in Lahore. So ये एक, और फिर एक मोहम्मद रियाज who was behind the Jaipur blast. उसका भी somewhere I found in my list. Anyway, so that happened. Then Abu Qasim, LET, Dangri attack handlers, he's here. Abu Qasim. Then Dawood Malik, उसका भी नाम है, कहाँ है ये Malik? He was. So this is me. What I'm looking at on my laptop is the list I was quickly able to type while it's all being shown in the movie. And this is my list that I found on the internet after doing research. So a little bit I've missed here and there, but these are all from the movie. So there was Dawood Malik, and there was someone called Khwaja Shahid. Something Bhatkal, Abu Qatal, no, something like that. And Bhuttobi was my favorite, the insulin shot in jail. LET founder he was, huh? So yeah. Bhuttobi उसका movie में नाम था, but in real life it was Bhuttavi, I think, है ना? This is clearly not a full Bhuttavi, yeah, LET founder, also heart failure in the hospital. Anyways, so ये हुआ, और फिर my favorite scene in this half, Ajay Sanyal had his moment. Oh man, the joy I felt. So here again, Aditya Dhar ki peak detailing and his subtle messaging, this is what I love about Aditya Dhar as a director and a filmmaker, that he will not spoon feed you. You have to pick up on things yourself, man. He's not going to spoon feed you. He's not going to insult your intelligence. He just understands that you are intelligent and you will get it. So what did he do in this scene? Rizwan and Hamza go to meet Mr. Zahur Misri, whatever his fake name was. And उसका क्या था dialogue plane में? हिंदू बहुत डरपोक कौन है ना? And what do we see when the phone rings and Hamza is calling Ajay Sanyal? A Hindu performing a havan. वहाँ Hindu ceremony चल रही है. See the subtle detailing was just gorgeous. So हिंदू डरपोक कौन है, आता है कॉल, हमारा हवन चल रहा है, और भाई साहब बीच में से तुम आ जाओ, मैं I have a call to attend. Takes the call. क्या ही, मतलब I do throughout the movie, except that one scene where he says मेरा बब्बर शेर while watching him on TV, I don't think I have seen Ajay Sanyal this happy. What a scene, what a scene. And then he's like, याद है क्या बोला था तुमने? And then come on, you left one sentence unfinished. So again, I was watching an interview clip of the actor who played Zahur Mistry, and he's like, I was so pissed off playing this role, but I had to. लेकिन he's like, आप आदित्य धर की वो देखिए डिटेलिंग या कीड़ा या जो भी you want to call it, कि actually अजय सन्याल बोलते हैं भारत माता की nobody replies, भारत माता की nobody replies. and then वो गन लेके आता है पीछे से. He's like, सीन में एक्चुअली आपने पाकिस्तानी से बुलवा दिया भारत माता की जय. ही ऐसे जय, पर उन्होंने बुलवा दिया, और वो भी पाकिस्तानी से, और किसी को कुछ रियलाइज नहीं हुआ, लेकिन हो गया. सो नाउ so he was very happy. He said, thank you, I got to finish it. And then we see him saying Bharat Mata ki, Bharat Mata ki, and then how poetic was that, Ranveer pointing the gun at him. Like literally you're replaying that scene from 22 years, 23 years ago. Oh my God. Oh, the closure, the joy, the the satisfaction. So wo hua, and he points the gun, and then he goes Jay, Jay, and then that smile. Sorry, but I think Madhavan has peaked in this scene. Maddie has peaked in this scene as an actor, and I'm here for it. It was so perfect. He says Jay, shoots him, he's dead, but no, he shoots him again and again and again. Oh, with every gunshot, you can see the satisfaction grow and grow on Ajay Sanyal's face. That was it, man. That was the moment. That was the moment. Sorry, I think my recording just died. And then after this peak Maddie scene, Main aur tu, best song for that moment. All the killings are happening with Main aur tu happening. Over 60 terrorists were eliminated by unknown gunmen in the last few years. And these are facts. And I have researched this, so it's undeniable. So everything you're seeing on TV, again, for the haters, it's all facts, man. It's all facts. And this movie has taken facts from real life and built a story around it and a fictional world around it. So try more. That's all I'm going to see. I just loved this entire section, and the panic that was infused in those people when all this freehand started playing out. Sukun. Anyway, so now Mr. Dawood is worried, of course, but he calls them to meet, and now Ranveer has got his dimethyl mercury, so he puts that on his hand. And actually, I got confused when I was watching it. I was like, what is he doing? How is he wearing it? But he's wearing it himself. How is it? So he put the thing on the outside part, covered the outside part with a layer of tape. Then he removed the back, the part you wear it from, and he wore that on his own thumb. And before going to shake hands with this guy, he peeled off that top layer, and he was gonna infect him with it. That's what the scene was, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I got out of it. But how did he put it on the top part of it? Isn't that plastic, and wouldn't it just fall off? Or was he wearing it the other way around? I don't know. Just tell me what you know. But anyway, he was not able to shake his hand, and that sucked. But that scene was really hilarious because it has happened, I think, after Zahur Mistri's death, which was 2022. I think. Yeah, I think it was 2022. But now we come to this scene where the Ram Mandir thing news is being announced, a decision by the Supreme Court is being announced, which was actually announced in 2019. So, we're jumping back and forth a bit on the timeline, but creative liberty has happened. So, wo hua. Now he is in the hospital bed and Ram Mandir news, and then he's like, oh, ab ye 30 saal purana, wo bhi kured rahe hain and all that. And you're just like, dude, let it go, man. Let it go. It's been proven now in a court of law, the rightful owners of this land, which is the land of the Hindus, have fought the legal battle they were supposed to fight, and it has gone in their favor after every kind of research and every kind of excavation and every kind of whatever. And they have rightfully, legally taken what was always theirs. So let it go, man. Why so much hate? And nowhere in the history of any other country has more land been given to the other community, to the other party, to build their own thing. And in fact, the Hindus are also, contributing to that. I mean, I don't understand why there is so much need for hate and so much need for, you're trying to right the wrongs of the past, right? And it is not hatred towards anyone when that happens. There was another example. If you go to Spain, there are a lot of churches that were converted to mosques by the Moors, right? When they invaded and conquered. And when the conquest happened and the Christians took their land back and sent the Moors back in and sent that entire invader regime and all out of their country, they took back their control of their churches and converted them back to churches. So it's not unheard of. It has happened in many parts of the world. It has happened across many nations of Europe. So if at all you want to coexist and live peacefully together, just be like, yeah, this is history, this is what happened in the past, it should not have happened, let's right those wrongs, and boom, everyone live happily. Nobody's taking away anyone's right to practice their faith. This is the land of the Hindus, where you have always had that freedom. Anyway, I don't want to go down that road, but the fact that he was sitting there and saying, "Ye Purana Zakham" and all that, yes, that was an unfortunate event. But to feel pissed off after all the legal battles that have been fought and all of that has happened, I mean, bro, please. So wo hua. Where was I? Yeah. So um, to give you an example, I was in south of Spain, road tripping with my sister, and we went to Cordoba, which is one of my favorite cities in Andalusia. But I studied in Madrid, but I love Andalusia and the south. So in Cordoba, there is a Mezquita Cathedral, which is translated, it means mosque cathedral. And it was literally that. When the Moors were driven out, the church was taken back, because that is what it originally was. So, and like today, it's called officially, if you Google it, it's called the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Assumption. Um, yeah, it's not that uncommon one. So just saying, just saying. So that happened, and I was just like, oh man, this guy is so full of poison. The actor who played Dawood also deserves the round of applause, because the menacing, the even though he's so sick and frail, his eyes are alert, his eyes are talking in every scene, and he is just looking vicious and menacing and so full of hate, that it just comes through the screen at you, and you're like, oh man, who who hurt you, man? Like for real, who hurt you? Like relax. You have so much money, which of course is like blah, fake, black money, um, blood money, but you have it. Be happy and live a good life, man. Just live and let live. Anyway, coming back. So ये हुआ, and वो प्लान बनाते हैं अब टेररिस्ट को भेजने का और पंजाब में कुछ करवाने का, and all that discussion is going on. And this Sajid Mir tells इकबाल की, पर आतिफ तो हमारा जेल में है, and he says कि जब तक वो जेल में है तब तक भी हमारा काम चलता रहेगा, जब तक वो जिंदा है. Sorry. तो अब हमें उसका जेल वाला सीन दिखाते हैं, once Hamza leaves and he throws that bandage and he's just like, I couldn't kill him. Anyway, so now they show this Atif Ahmed in jail getting served and parosod by the jailers, and you're like, this is all true, man. This is all true. And for everyone complaining about showing Atif Ahmed for who he was and how he was and what, like how damaging his existence was to the state, to the country, to the nation, um, I don't know why anyone would have a problem with that being shown for what it was. So yeah, he's talking about visiting the doctor, getting a fake doctor certificate, and getting out on bail. And of course, we know that that never happened. So now, again, this is peak of foreshadowing, or this is just kind of leaving things open-ended and possibilities open-ended. But now he's going, he knows what's going to happen next. So now he's going to see the Baloch people again, and he's leaving Yalina, and he gives her tickets. Now, nothing Aditya Dhar says or does or shows is coincidental. We know this. So he is now giving her tickets and saying, हमें कल रात ही या आज रात ही, whenever I come back, हमें वैंकूवर के लिए निकलना पड़ेगा. अब I'm sitting there thinking, Vancouver, of all the cities in the world, why did he mention Vancouver? If you know, you know. So that happened there, and he leaves, and Mr. Omar is standing outside looking at Yalina, and he's going to now find out if this guy is for real, an agent or not. But after this, we see that Murid ke scene with Major Iqbal and his entire like jihadi university that's going on, and that lecture and that picking of the, oh, this one has been picked today, or agar aapka bhi good fortune raha to aapko bhi chuna jayega, and all that happens. Um, that next scene with Yalina and Omar and her son, one of the best scenes of hers again. Like whichever scene she was in, the way she looks at him, hanging onto her son with a gun in his hand, and tells him like, go to your room, and then seeing what he's actually intending to do, like hurt her son, and how her expression changes when he asks her like, okay, your son's gonna suffer if you don't tell me the truth. And then her helplessly breaking down and crying, like beautiful scene, but she did what she had to do to save her son. I mean, beautiful acting, beautiful acting. And then we see Atif Ahmed getting killed on TV. That was something, huh? I think that happened in what, 2022? 2022. और अब तक हम कहाँ थे? Which year were we in? We kept jumping from 2022 to 2019, and now this, yeah, this Atik Ahmed was gunned down in 2023 on live TV, which I still to this day wonder how did they? I don't know, man. What? Okay, I'm gonna take a break now because one needs to. Hello, I'm back. I'm back. I needed another break. And I actually posted on Instagram while I took this break and asked you guys if you want a fully detailed review or if you want um a basic review. Because I'm having a lot of difficulty finishing this. It's very it's taking a lot out of me to go over this movie, but I mean I'm enjoying it as well, but I don't know if you will enjoy it and how long this will eventually turn out to be. I don't know. I've been at it the whole day. But anyway, so where were we? We were talking about Yalina and that Omar from Liari Task Force. And he, by the way, is like in real life, it's a real character from real life. And I saw a clip of him yesterday or day before online, and he, like, again, Mukesh Chhabra ji ki casting. Man looks like a doppelganger, exact twin. And this guy is like, we should get some compensation because they are covering our story. Yeah, doesn't work like that, unfortunately. But yeah, he was there, and he said that yeah, we were quite aware that there are some raw agents out here in Liari who are doing some things. So it wasn't really much of a secret. But anyway, he has that scene with Yalina, and I did, throughout the movie, he seems like this nice second in command kind of guy, but I did not think he would be that menacing or evil that he would threaten someone with the life of their son. So that was again very like, geez, dude, if you already know that he's who you think he is, then why are you threatening this mother? So anyway, that was very, very annoying. And I think there was one more thing I remembered while I was on this break. That I think I mentioned. Yeah. So when I was mentioning how, because we're coming to that scene where Major Iqbal's gonna go back to his father. Um, but okay, I'll make this point when we get to that scene. So now we see this guy getting uh Major Iqbal is sitting in the Murid ke place, and he's finished that lecture to the jihadis, and now he's sitting there and he is watching TV, and he sees his partner, him and his friends are having dinner, and they see this Atif Ahmed getting killed on TV, and Major Iqbal is losing it. Sweet moment. And then in that same scene, he gets a call from our cop, Omar, telling him that Hamza is your Indian agent. And now boiling point has been reached, right? So now Major Iqbal is pissed off. And what do you do when you're pissed off? You go to see the person you hate the most. So he goes to see his father. And that entire scene, again, hats off to Aditya Dhar. I talked about the last scene when he went to see his father and all the galias he's giving him. He's basically setting us up to see what a loser Major Iqbal actually is in front of his own father, in front of his own family's eyes, and how that whole cousin marriage probably has resulted in a daughter who has, a genetic situation going on, probably Down syndrome, if I'm not mistaken. So a subtle jab at that cousin marriage thing as well, which is so weird. Like that whole thing is just so freaking weird. When you know it's gonna result in these genetic abnormalities, you can see it generation after generation. Just look at the numbers in the research they did in the UK, and they still are at it. It just boggles the mind. Anyway, so that happened, but he's come now to see his father again, and his father, of course, is also watching things on the news. And he uses the moment to rattle off, start abusing his son again. So that happened, and like your blood boils when you see a human like that, because first of all, how do you talk to your son like that? Second of all, the kind of shit you brag about, it's just pathetic. There's no other word for it. All of it is just pathetic. All of them are just pathetic. So anyway, that whole situation happens where his father goes on, and then says that हमने ये किया था और हमने इस मुल्क को ये दिया था और वो किया था और yada yada yada. This guy just listens because it's his father. Deep down he knows the truth. He's already been told it. But hats off to Aditya Dhar again for introducing a character like Brigadier Jahangir, who helped us on record, in the movie, to set the record straight about all this bullshit, because that was such a masterclass in how you correct whatever BS history that has been, propagated by the other side. So he knows that there will be enough and more Pakistanis who will watch the movie as well, and even Indians who probably don't know this stuff. But he had to set the record straight from whatever this guy was going on and on about in his other scenes. So he does that whole scene of him, talking to him while in the bathtub, and and the way he then grabs his father's tongue and says all the stuff he says, that you did this to all these women in Bangladesh. Who are you lying to? Like, how did you treat my mom, my wife, and my sister? Which again, I was just like, wait one sec, did he? If he did, then oh my God, like, but anyway, that and how basically how you tortured the women in my family. And he's like, mom told me your asliyat a long time ago, which is basically the asliyat of most of their army generals, because they lie through their teeth to their public and to their families probably, and their textbooks lie through their teeth to them, teaching them BS. BS. Like, it boggles my mind how much BS they believe to be the truth. Especially about the wars and whatever. Like, they actually believe they won. Just it's hilarious. But anyway, the fact that he knew that his dad had sold his country off to the enemy, and like surrendered or backstabbed his own men and whatever had happened, and then pretended that he did all these macho things and won the war and all that for so many years. He's like, 50 साल से तुम्हारी झूठी बहादुरी के किस्से सुनते आ रहा हूँ and tolerate करता आ रहा हूँ. So वो scene बहुत ही, like, Arjun Rampal's acting there, and actually Arjun Rampal's character and like everything that you see about him in the film, he's this evil, absolute, like, there is not a, a, a good bone in his body. But all of this shows you the motivation, because not only is he brought up to hate India and to hate kafirs and be a religious zealot, but he is also constantly nagged by this loser father of his, whose reality he's well aware of, but he can't say anything because it's his father. And it's that nagging that also motivates him. It's that nagging that also makes him want to, like, do as much damage to India as possible to, maybe someday have his father praise him in even a minute way, right? So that validation seeking thing in him, probably like any human, any man, doesn't go away, where you want your father to respect you, right? So wo hua, and then he had just had enough. He's like, I effed up. I couldn't recognize an Indian agent who was around me the whole time. And now I have to listen to this bullshit as well from this guy who's been lying for 50 years. And boom, he snaps and does the whole thing. Now, after this scene, he's shaving his head. So now he's looking even more menacing. And you're like, okay, now we have, reached this point. Aditya Dhar, man. I honestly, the second time I watched the movie, I was marveling after the scene, because I was like, that exchange and the way the guy was belittling his son again and constantly praising himself again for everything he did in the 71 war, according to him. That entire setup and that entire exchange, and his son correcting him and saying, you asshole, all your lies I've tolerated, and like setting the record straight in the way it was set straight. Because I was thinking about it later and I was like, you didn't need a Brigadier Jahangir for this story. That character was just, it was not required at all. But the intent was there कि कहीं से हमें history का record straight करना है. Like, we need to set the record straight in this movie. How are we going to do it? Like, how are we going to fit a scene where that topic comes up and where that stuff gets talked about? So then they brought in this character as a Major Iqbal's backstory or home story or whatever. It was literally created for that moment where his own son sets the record straight and kills him for being such a loser. So anyway, I love that. I love that. I was thinking about it later. I was like, Aditya Dhar, well done. That character, uska purpose वही था. So ये हुआ, and then we see him talking about कि मैंने ये किया था, एक सर को मुशर्रफ के पैरों पे रखा था, और अब मैं कल फिर से एक हिंदुस्तानी सर मैं लटकाऊंगा मुरीद के मीनार से, वो dialogue, right? And he then stares at himself in the mirror. And here I feel someone was saying it, I saw somewhere, but it could be. But here I feel, while that dialogue was going on, probably is where that scene of him, which I believe got erased and cut by the censor board, was placed in the movie before it got deleted. And that is a scene of him actually doing what he was saying he did in the past. And like I said in the trailer reaction video, कि ऐसे लोग जो ठीक है, you attacked an enemy troop, sorry, an enemy sort of team and regiment and whatever, you fought them, you captured one, you went against all the Geneva Convention and whatever else there is that sets the rules of engagement in a conflict. You went against all of that and you beheaded someone, and then you went to your army chief and gifted him this head of a soldier, and then you got celebrated in your country and in your media. You got praised and showered with praise, and you got prize money for this as if it's some big thing to be proud of. It's so it just comes down to how medieval are you, how medieval and how sick and how effed up are you in your brain to actually celebrate something like that. So you don't respect the UN conventions on war and all the guide, like the rule book, but you want to cry about UN resolutions when it suits you. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Either you stand for whatever that body says, or you don't stand for it at all. But anyway, it just pissed me off when I saw that, and I feel like this is the point where that scene was placed and it was cut out. I'm also pissed that वो scene क्यों काटा, क्योंकि वो scene दिखाना चाहिए. Gen Z and like people don't know. There's so many Indians who are just living in La La Land and don't know, and they will never know unless a movie like this shows it to them. So they could have just, there was a lot more gore in this movie than something like that. It could have been shown, like, I mean, we already saw the football with the head scene. So I don't know why that scene was cut, if it was, and I don't have a way to verify it. I'm 90% sure that that happened. But if you guys know anything, please tell me in the comments. I really feel like they should have kept that scene and let people know the rules of engagement that the Pakistan army follows. Now, chapter 5 has ended. Chapter 6, the revenge, has happened. And the big battle is about to go down. We see Hamza driving to Muridke and pulling in with his cars. There's a Tokens rap is playing here, the song, as he enters the mosque and everything. And you can tell he's thought ahead. He's not going to go in there and just go down without any planning. So wo sab ho raha hai. He's sitting there. These three are at the table. He does the exchange, the money, the weapons, all of that. He knows that they're keeping them upstairs. Very nicely planned. We didn't know what's going to happen. Then that line when he says ki main dhamaka karu, I was like, yes, please start now. But yeah, so wo hua. And when Rizwan sees the fake notes, I think he already knew that this is going to happen. But that whole thing was playing out for us as audiences. We're not supposed to know that they know and that they have prepared for it. And shit is about to go down. So wo hua. And then immediately you see the Baluch BLF, right? The Baluch Liberation Force, yeah, BUF. I don't know what they're called in the movie. They moved in into the city dressed as rangers. Now we start seeing that. Then you're like, I was like, thank God, prepared I had. That's the thing. Anytime Hamza needs something to go down, he will go and sit with. He will go to the Baluch friends. But yeah, now Major, when he's talking to Hamza, we need that last like dialogue exchange between them, right? Before we reveal that he knows. So he is basically saying, you know why I'm always on the phone with handlers? Because I want to hear the screams of the kafirs. And it's just boiling our blood when we watch this stuff, right? We're getting to that point where we're just like, okay, kill the soul already. Like, with that kind of sick mentality, you should not exist. You're just using resources up on the planet and you don't belong. Anyway, so and he says ki us mulk ki barbadi, and then he says tere mulk ki barbadi, and then boom, he stabs him with that little knife. I'm like, why was Ranveer just sitting there while he's walking behind him? What if that knife had been a bigger knife and he had just slit his throat or something in the moment? Anyway, I was quite pissed at this stabbing situation. Like, why did you allow this? Anyway, that whole scene where he pushes him back and all that happens, and he says the mere ghante ka jallad and all this. I'm sorry, but the amount the public cheered on that line, was hilarious. And I have to say, man, okay, I'll come to the performances later. I'm going to talk about each character, not even actor, like every character was important in this movie. But he says na, तुम लोगों के पटाखे हो गए हो तो मैं असली धमाका शुरू करूं. The minute they tell us कि सही time पे दबा देना button, I was like, bro, thank God for remotes and bombs with remote controls. My like heart was here. It's like, please let this not be the end. So the blast happens, and then of course bullets are flying all over from outside. And again, as we saw in the Nitish Rajput video, which I released last, he said this. I'll take this off actually. I'll just say it. He said this that एक खासियत है बलूच leaders के बारे में कि वो they lead from the front. You know, they never send their boys and their men to fight. They will be right there in the front with their boys fighting. So we saw that in this movie. Like these are the kind of details that I just really commend Aditya Dhar, because you can see the level of research, you can see the level of, you know, like we will not take a culture for granted or, you know, just show them in whatever way. We will deep dive and study the nuances, and we will make sure um we are respectful of whoever and whatever we are showing, right? And we are respectful towards the details and the truth and the, yeah. So वो जब गाड़ी से निकले, the Baluch leader, I was like, oh man, ये सुना था, अब देख रहे हैं. And also in real life also it happens, but you know, movie में वो दिखा रहे हैं. So peak detailing by Aditya Dhar. But now that happens. And another thing that I wanted to mention was, I just had it and it's gone. I just had it. Yes, I just saw while I was on my break, I saw this video of and this is a right moment to mention it, because I just saw a video. My friend sent it to me and she's like, "What scene is he talking about?" She didn't know, and I was like, "This scene." So it's basically a video, Instagram video that Madhavan just released, saying, you know, someone filed an FIR against him for quoting Guru Gobind Singh while smoking a cigarette, and he clarified. He's like, "No, there was no cigarette," and Aditya Dhar is very careful about these things and details and nuances, and he had told me before the scene कि आप वो बोलने से पहले वो सिगरेट आप बुझा, so cigarette smoke हो रही थी when he was walking up the stairs, conversations going on, and the cigarette is gone, it's done before that dialogue comes out and before he quotes Guru Gobind Singh in that scene. So to that level, Aditya Dhar has thought before conceptualizing and planning each scene. You know, he knows कि किस culture को कैसे respect देनी है और क्या कर सकते हैं, बता सकते हैं, बोल सकते हैं, कैसे वो हैं लोग, क्या नहीं करना चाहिए. All that is very minutely thought of. And he basically told Madhavan that आप वो बुझा देना much before you have to say that dialogue, and while you're saying it, there has to be no smoke coming out of your mouth or no cigarette in your hand and all of that. So beautiful. So that's what they did when they showed the Baloch leader coming out as well, showing everyone how the leaders lead from the front, which is amazing to see and unlike you know who. Anyways, so fight scene happens inside the mosque. Loved Mr. Sajid Mir ka death तो बहुत ही beautiful था. This is one movie where I have thoroughly enjoyed the gore and the violence. I was just like, bring it on. More please. You know, so full satisfaction was happening. That is what it is. It is about like getting rid of the evil and anyway, so he killed that one, that whole thing with an that's beautiful. Anyway, then this falling down with Major Iqbal happens and they both pass out. I'm just so happy when Major Iqbal got up and ran before Ranveer got up. He didn't stab him or anything, he just left. Anyway, then Ranveer wakes up, he's alone, he walks out of the mosque, and the look in Ranveer's eyes as he walks out of that mosque and he knows that Major Iqbal has escaped and run away from the back or whatever. And he confronts the Balochi, he looks at him, then he's basically, it was the same walk and the same rage and the same anger and the same determination and the same sort of thing that you saw in scene 1 where he walked into that house to avenge his family. Like it was the same. I was feeling like, oh, he's back, he's back, he's back. And the way he walked out over there and shouted, Rizwan, cover, right? Oof. In that moment, you could see ki kuch bhi ho jaye, he is not letting this dude escape today. And he is going to, beautiful. So that happened. And like I kept thinking later on, what must Ranveer Singh, the actor, be going through in those moments and in that, in that scene. It took me back to his scene in that house where every time he was shouting and asking someone, Meri behan kahan hai? The rage and the power with which he was asking, there was like spit coming out of his mouth and he's sweating and there's blood all over him, like intense, man. And the same in this scene, he's like, Rizwan, cover. Oh, that rage. I couldn't. I was like, I was, there was no point getting a recliner. I'm just saying. There was no reclining in this movie, man. I was at the edge of my seat. So anyway, he picks that rocket launcher thing, uses it, and then chases this one. Um, that entire scene of him killing Major Iqbal was so sweet, man. It was so sweet. It was like the way Aditya Dhar wrote that scene. It was like, bro, no pretense anymore. We will just call it as it is now. So the minute he shouted and said, "Ruk jihadi," I think there was a collective like gasp internally, at least, if not externally, in all of us in the hall, because we were like, did he just write that dialogue? Did he just see that? Um, and uh, and you're like, I was thinking about all of this later, and I was like, oh my God, that is very gutsy to have all of that being shown, because that is what they are. That is exactly who they are and what they are, and they call themselves that. So why can't we? And we should. And it's terrible if you are that, and like you literally don't deserve to live if that's your mentality, that kafir should die and you should like convert everyone and you should whatever, like that is just in medieval invader mindset and just ugh, puke. So anyway, so when that dialogue happened, I was like, oh my God. And then I've seen some people say online that wo jo entire verbal exchange tha dono ke beech mein before Major Iqbal gets killed, वो थोड़ा ओवर द टॉप हो गया और वो बहुत ही एंटी एक कम्युनिटी हो गया और ये वो I'm just like, why does everything have to be taken personally? He's literally killing an ISI agent who has been murdering, slaughtering, freaking torturing, planning attacks, calling himself a jihadi, calling himself a killer of all kafirs, etc etc. तो वो जो है, तो वही तो उसको बुलाएंगे, वही तो बोलेंगे उसको, वही तो उनका exchange होगा, because they have discussed all this. These two characters have talked about all this in their lives, and now he knows that he's an agent and he is not of the same mindset at this one, so they'll go at it, right? What is wrong with that? So anyway, that exchange for me personally was like 2% filmy, and not very real in terms of like comparison with the rest of the movie, but I feel like it was very important that that kind of exchange needs to be had, because that is the mentality of an agent like, or a major like that Major Iqbal, of a man like him who's about to die and who's about to go down. He does not and will not want to admit defeat, and he will want to keep threatening and keep saying that we will come back and we will do this and we will do that and whatever shit, right? um because no matter how many times you get defeated, you still have the same thing. I mean, what the hell is this? I didn't even know such a phrase existed, but what the hell is Male Ganimat or whatever? Or what was the other? Ghazwa Hind? Like, what are these concepts? Why do they even exist? You got your land and country, right? You got what you wanted in 1947. So why can't you be there and just be happy and live your lives peacefully? And let us live ours. Why is this concept existing in your minds and in your, you see politicians and you see public figures in Pakistan on TV. There was one guy before or after Op Sindoor, I don't know, but his clip with some host was doing the rounds, where he's talking about, oh, हम जब गजवा हिंद होगा तो हम क्या ये बॉलीवुड की एक्ट्रेसेस माले गनीमत में काउंट होंगी, हमें तो चाहिए और व्हाटएवर, एंड ही इज लाइक, ओ आपको कौन सी चाहिए? अरे मुझे घर भी जाना है, आई कांट टेक नेम्स राइट नाउ. लाइक, लुक एट द मेंटालिटी, they're just sick people. They're just effed up in the brain, and you're like, are you for real? You're a freaking turkey. And like, you are I don't have the words. I don't have the words. Anyway, point is, they will keep dreaming about this stuff, and they will keep fantasizing about this stupid dumb shit, and then they tell us that we are hating on them or whatever nonsense. It's just beyond me. Oh, anyway, so man keeps talking about Ghazwa Hind and whatever he has in his ambitions as he's dying, and beautiful, that chain, and that thing that cut his legs, and one leg was dangling. Like normal me would have like shut her eyes and not looked, but I was enjoying. I was fully enjoying this. And imagine, I saw a clip. I don't know if you guys saw it, but there was a clip doing the rounds online where there is a Pakistani family that has come out of the cinema, probably, I don't know, US or Canada mein. And they've come out, and one of the guys is like, "Oh, you know what Major Iqbal was saying? Hum fir se aayenge aur fir se ghusenge aur fir se marenge." And he was glorifying Major Iqbal Zindabad or something he was saying. And I was just like, dude, are you for real? Are you for real? You're literally cheering a man who has even, okay, let's say, forget that he's Pakistan, whatever. Have you seen his mentality, that character's mentality in the movie? Could have been any nationality, but the mentality he had and the kind of things he was saying and wanted to do and bragged about doing, you're going to cheer for a person like that. That says a lot about you. That says everything about you, honestly. So, I mean, even if someone like that was Indian, I would be like, F that dude. What kind of sick mentality is that? And if you are cheering for a character like that after walking out of the cinema hall, that says everything about you. So I was just like, when I saw that. Anyway, coming back. So ye ho gaya, and Bhai Saab has died as he's saying zin and boom. So it's over. Very poetic. Loved it. So wo ho gaya, and one of the best scenes of Ranveer's career again. I think every scene this man has gone beyond. I have not seen an actor like this in this genre. No, I have not. Now one of the best scenes of the film, the him lighting his cigarette and picking up the phone and calling Yalina, because he knows that she has been the one they got the information from about him. So I was thinking about this, that he was alone in that dockyard or wherever that scene was. He could have easily escaped, right? He could have just run away into the wilderness, found his way back to Kabul, and gone back to India or something. Um, but he sat there and waited to get arrested. And I was wondering, why did he wait? He could have just escaped, right? And then I saw online, like, see, the last 2-3 days, I have been doing my research. So then I realized, oh, the logic was he knew that Alina and Zayan were the reason, people got to know that he is an agent. And if he does not give himself up or turn himself in, then she and Zayan are going to be in trouble. And clearly, he needed to avoid that. So anyway, that call with Yalina on the phone and the song in Jubin Nautiyal's voice that's playing over there. Oh my God. Main na raha, mere baat to something, right? That song. Oof. One of the best scenes in the movie. One of the most emotional, like their two scenes together in the movie elevated the movie like till here. Because I thought, honestly, after Dhurandhar Part 1, that ye love story, he's groomed her or ye zyada kuch nahi hoga and it's going to be whatever. But it emotionally pulled us in, man, this story and this connection and this relationship that they both had. And hats off to both actors in this scene when he's like, mera naam ek aakhri baar le do, and she says Hamza, and he's crying, and I mean, he knows he's never going to see her again. It's just heartbreaking. It is so heartbreaking that, oh man, again, then you're like, sorry, I just get like annoyed because imagine the amount of anyway. So that happens, he breaks down, and then he's like, you want to know my real name? And like, he's been dying to tell her. um and then when he tells her and she says his real name, oh my God, the way he breaks down, you're like, is this the guy who just killed this dude? And uh, man, that moment is beyond because I can't praise Ranveer enough in this movie and in that scene. And then, like, that scene took so much out of me. I was sobbing away. I was just sobbing away because it is all about the sacrifice that you make, and that you've given your life to your country, and then everything else just um falls away after. Anyway, sorry, coming back. So he gets arrested, and that smile on his face and smoking that cigarette when Omar comes to arrest him. Beautiful. And now any normal movie would have ended at this point, क्योंकि हो गया अब उसको दिखाएंगे जेल में या जो भी है. But from here, apparently the movie was 40 minutes longer than, from here, this point onwards. So imagine how much this movie has gripped us. We have already sat for over 3 hours by now. 3 hours 10 minutes हो गए हैं. 40 minutes अभी बाकी हैं, and we are still glued to our seats. We're not moving. Every second of this movie is so gripping. At no point does it lose you. At no point, except that shorter movie scene. But no, even then, nowhere does this movie lose you. Now we are even more invested because now he's caught. So hell no, do not torture our man, because we will come for you. So I'm just, anyway, chapter 7 appears now and it says Dhurandhar, and I'm like, okay, let's do this. And honestly, if it had been even longer than 40 minutes, I would have sat there because I was ready to go back in for round 2 after the 4 hours. But anyway, so now this interrogation scene is going on, and you can see it's ISI ka jo bhi hai pura wo hai. And Ajay Sanyal calls, and the thing is, he's sitting in the night and he's still working. He's got his grandson sleeping on his lap, and it's such peak detailing. Again, I hate to use this phrase because we're getting obsessed, like Jaisai Deepak said, like, let's not get obsessed with the peak detailing, because the message of the movie is more important. But the detailing in this scene is that Ajit Doval has been known to, want to retire, spend time with his grandkids, and he doesn't get much time now also when he's working. So in all these scenes, you see that side of him. So anyway, so he's sitting, his grandson is sleeping on his lap, and he's still working. He's like, literally, your grandson is sleeping on your lap. You should be like a retired old grandfather person who's relaxing in life, but you're on the phone with the head of ISI in Pakistan, threatening him to release your age. I was just like, ये क्या हो रहा है, ये homebody और ये. Anyway, it was so good. So anyway, first he threatens him with firing at the border, right? Shelling at the border or something, some action of that sort. Thinking कि ये मान जाएगा तो मैं अभी अपना trump card use नहीं करता हूँ, but नहीं माना. So he sent him the video. When Rasputin started playing, by the way, oh my God, again, when I walked out, I was like, those songs, why were those songs? I performed to Rasputin in my Scouts and Guides campfire thing in school. That song is embedded in my brain, the amount of times we practiced. And of all the Bonium songs, me and my friends, we picked Rasputin. We just love that song. Anyway, so coming back, and it was such an apt song to pick because so right for the moment. Yeah, so one more thing I noticed, that I saw, online in the last 2-3 days, is that इसमें भी peak detailing हुई है और trolling हुई है आदित्य के through, where he has got this guy, this ISI head. He is sitting with the Jews and he's partying, and वो सब video जो उसमें दिखा रहे हैं, उसमें वो वही इशारे कर रहे हैं ऐसे ऐसे, whatever that the PM just did, their PM just did to Trump. Hilarious. Oh, what a clown. Okay, coming back. So वो video आया, and then if you guys noticed, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but I don't know if you noticed, when he calls him, when Ajay Sanyal calls him, he starts the call with Assalamu alaikum, right? And this one says, oh, walaikum salam, Ajay Sanyal sahab, and whatever, right? So वो वैसे हुआ greeting. और जब उन्होंने कॉल एंड किया, एंड ही सेड, पर मैं पता चल गया है यहाँ पे हमने इंडियन एजेंट को पकड़ा है, तो मुझे किसी पे तो ब्लेम डालना पड़ेगा. एंड देन ही सेड उजैर, मैंने उसे इसी दिन के लिए जिंदा रखा था, एंड ऑल दैट. हिलेरियस. And he cuts and then Ajay Sanyal is like, हाँ तो 1 घंटे में वो पहुंच जाना चाहिए, note whatever, and he ends the call with namaskar, and then this ISI guy replies with namaskar. So we started at assalamu alaikum, and we ended with namaskar. It was such a weird but interesting touch. I laughed, and I only noticed this in my second watch. So वो हुआ, and ये Ranveer gets dropped off, and now the big, oh my God, the moment, the twist that none of us saw coming. None of us saw it coming, man. None of us saw it coming. But I can tell you that I have not felt this relieved when this guy decided that I'll release this one. I have not felt that sense of relief probably ever in my life. Oh man, oh man. And when he said कि ये plane आ जाएगा, ATC को संभाल लेना वगैरह वगैरह, I was like, thank God, he's going home. He's going home. तो मैं वहां तक खुश थी. I didn't even think that a car will come to pick him up. I thought he's getting dropped off at Margalla Hills, and man will jog his way to wherever he has to reach the airport. But then this car pulled up behind him, and I'm like, who's that? Fine, whatever. I thought maybe it's Rizwan or something. But the moment he turns and sees this one, oh God. Just I cannot. And oe oe. What a song to pick. It's literally from the era where Jamil Jamali might have gone there first for the mission. But that entire exchange in the car and that twist, oh my God, like Aditya Dhar, mad props, mad props. We don't see it coming. And then I saw Rakesh Bediji's interview, a little clip of it, and it was on a TV channel or something. And he asked, "Ki aapko pata tha ye twist hone wala?" He said, "Of course, pata tha." He's like, "That's how you build your character when you're this thing." So he's like, if you notice in the first scene also, when he first sees Ranveer Hamza, he is in the hospital after Rahman's kid has died. And as he sits in the car, he turns and looks at Ranveer and he gives this look. In that moment in part one, we didn't notice it. But it was like Rakesh Bedi said that I was planting these things because I'm looking at him because I know he's my asset and he will never know. But I'm just like wondering, like, what is he doing? Why did he infiltrate the gang in this way? Whatever. So if you find that interview online of Rakesh Bedi, go watch it. But he's like, that's how you build the character because you know eventually that he has to reach point B and the story is going to reach point B where everything will be obvious now when you start watching it again from the starting. So every time that Ranveer thinks he's playing Jamali, Jamali knows he's trying to play him, but he's playing Ranveer back. So we basically, Aditya Dhar sets us up to want to go back and watch Dhurandhar 1 and this one back to back. And I hope in the future they have both the movies playing in the cinema because we will sit for 7 hours and watch. So ठीक है, ओए ओए पे वो खत्म होता है when he says दाऊद को नहीं मार पाया, and then we see the handshakes and we see, oh my God, he's been slowly poisoning him the whole time. Another twist. Twist. My heart and mind could not take it anymore. I was just like, this is too much satisfaction. It's like I was not prepared for this level of peace and joy. Anyway, so वो हुआ. But now, again, Dil Pe Zakham Khate Hain starts playing as he boards the plane to fly back to India, which is exactly the song that was playing as he boarded the train to go to Pathankot and, do what he did. So I think same song tha, hai na? Anyway, so if you noticed, he's now got his cast and he's entering the room to meet Ajay Sanyal. And as Ajay Sanyal turns and acknowledges Hamza Ranveer, unke background में तिरंगा है. Tiranga is lehraving. You can see it through the window. And I was like, oof, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And then he looks at Ranveer and he says, you did good. Bro, how about a hug, man? Just, I was like, little thoda, bro, just spent 15 years. Just saying, what are you doing? You did good. I saw this really funny reel someone posted कि ये typical Indian corporate boss की तरह उन्होंने बोल दिया you did good. Good. Anyway, so we know he's part of the bigger Dhurandhar project and he's one of the agents and one of the spies and there's a lot going on and all of that. Yes, he has just killed one of the assets in a very sad situation. He has lost his wife and son and come back and you are saying you did good. Just anyway, in that moment you can't really, I'm just being facetious obviously, but in reality you can see why that was the right dialogue for that scene. You can't go beyond that. You're a man who has a mission. You are a man who is here to serve the nation and to be um not expect rewards and medals in return, which is going back to their first conversation. So you did good. That's it. That's all you get. So wow, man, I was just at this point I was just like, oh my God. Then he says asset is on the loose. Now again, another, just give Ranveer the awards already, man, for this scene now that happened. Him taking the train and heading home. Jo Tu Na Tha song is playing in the background, by the way. Oof, beautiful. Every time a song came in, it was another character in the frame. It was just insane. So he's on the train and I think he is just I think at this point he has had his first meeting with his handler, his boss, and now he is just, I think now the brokenness sets in, where he's just exhausted. He's like, I'm exhausted. I've been away since, what was it, 2004, 5, I think. 2002 he started, anyway, whatever, like 15 plus years. He is exhausted, man, and you can see it in his eyes, on his face, and he just wants to put his head on his mom's lap. That's probably the only thing he's thinking of. And you can see in the train, he sees a mother and her son talking, playing, laughing, and he turns away and he's just crying. He's just crying. It's just years and years of pent up oh that he's feeling. And I cannot even imagine, like, when you are um going somewhere to when you are on your way somewhere for closure, and I think a lot of us may have taken such trips in our life, when you are on your way somewhere to say something that needs to be said, or to meet someone you need to meet, or to just close a loop on something, or whatever it is that's bothering you, you're going somewhere with this sort of emotional baggage and this like mission. I was just tearing up for him, and I was like, oh my God, just get him to his mom for a hug, and for like, just so he can just sleep, man, with his head on her lap. Like, that's all I want for him right now. But yeah, he gets there, he gets dropped off. I think he takes an auto, right? He gets out of the train station, he takes that auto. And I don't know if you all noticed, but twice he's passing that house where he massacred that entire family. And twice the camera shows us that house. He's looking at it, you see, and the house is there, and he's turning this way and he's looking at it. Camera pans from the house to his face, and then it pans back to that thing. It's like he's looking at where it was that I chose the life I chose for myself. That was the spot. Um, that hit different, seeing that spot. Him seeing that spot, that entire thing. So anyway, I feel like Aditya didn't miss anything, man. He didn't miss anything that a character would go through and encounter. So anyway, he comes and now he's walking, and it is so obvious in that moment that they have moved on. They didn't have any choice. They just had to move on. They lost their husband, and they lost their brother and their sister, and now the daughter who was married to Pinda lost him, and they have just made their peace, and with no other alternative, they've just moved on. And he sees them, they're living their daily life and smiling and talking and all of that, and they are not expecting him to show up or expecting a reunion with anyone from their past. So the the moment his mom is like shutting the door and moving in, is because she doesn't care who's down the road. I was like, how can she not spot him? It's an empty road, and if he's standing right there, one would see, right? But it's just that she must be like, yeah, कोई होगा. मुझे तो कोई expectation है नहीं कि मेरा बेटा या कोई वापस आ रहा है हमारी life में. तो मैं तो I'm just going about my day, man. And the slow motion of it all made us feel like it was probably longer, but it was probably just a 5-10 second thing. He's there, he sees them, and 30 seconds, she closes the gate and they go in for their food or whatever, and that's it, it's over. But those seconds that he's standing there and we're seeing all of this in slow motion, it's just soul crushing, man. It was just soul crushing, because that whole train ride and auto ride and all that, I'm just wishing for him to get a hug from his mom. Just hanyal to rahe usko hug. He's not gonna do it. So you need mother, right? You need. Anyway, I like, it just broke my heart. It just broke my heart watching him stand there, and kind of knew that this was going to happen, because how many questions are you going to answer? And then again, every time you have to go on a mission, or you have to disappear, or you are, they're not going to know if you're going to come back. So why even give them that hope that you are alive now? Because when you leave again, which you will have to, it's going to break them again and break their heart again. And why should you put them through that again? Like, you know what I mean? It was just that moment where he realized that I'm not going to do them any good by reappearing in their life as badly as I need a hug from my mom right now. So, anyway, so he turns and he looks at his mom, and he looks at his motherland, and then he looks straight at the camera, and that's where we end. And boom, the screen flashes to Balidan Padmanabhan. And I was just, by this point, I am bawling. I have tears streaming down my face, and I'm just like, can we just take a moment, and several moments, to just thank every living being whose motto is Balidan Parmo Dharma. Like, thank you, thank you, thank you. Many, most of their names we will never know. But we can't thank you all enough. And we know you're out there, and we know you exist, and we couldn't be more grateful. So I am bawling at this point. And then the credits roll and we see the training and the Destiny song jo hai, wo, that starts playing. But I honestly feel like, and a friend and I were discussing this, I honestly feel like those training scenes that they left for the end credits, I really wish they had placed them somewhere before in the first half, where between his chat with Ajay Sanyal and between his deployment for his mission, in the middle, they should have placed some of those scenes. I don't know. I personally, I would have loved that. Because thoda wo pura arc dikhta na, abhi we don't know how much he's been trained. But okay, anyway, they saved that for the end credits. And of course, he's para special forces training ho rahi hai. They're trained in all these 4-5 languages. Oh my God, they are trained in holding your breath underwater, giving it your all in the last second when you have no life left, which is exactly what he did in his end fight scene with Major Iqbal, with his head being crushed and all of that. So wo sab beautiful. So that happens, and then that if you stayed back till all the credits ended, you would have seen the post credit scene, which is the ISI Director General fighting with Omar and throwing him in the jail because Omar is like, "Aap mile hue hain, how could you let him go? He's an Indian agent," and he's like, "Don't question my authority." Whatever. Their internal fighting will continue. So that happened, and now for real, the movie ended. But I feel like the conclusion was, it was all left very open-ended, right? Because we don't know if Aditya Dhar has any plans to make Dhurandhar 3. He might, now that both these movies have made so much money and broken all records, he might finally have the budget for his long planned dream of Ashwathama, which was shelved due to the budget not being enough for the vision. So he may start focusing on that. But I do feel like they didn't say that, they didn't leave it at a point where there's no way there's going to be a part 3, and they didn't leave it at a point where for sure there's going to be a part 3. They've left it in the middle where now they are free to decide as it suits them whether they want to continue this. But they've dropped enough. I feel like there will be a part 3, and I really hope and wish and pray that there's a part 3, because we deserve to have the timeline extended till present day. There's a lot that's happened. So I feel like the Vancouver mention to Yalina was not coincidental, and that city being picked for the dialogue was not coincidental. He's back in India, but the movie ended in 2022-ish or 2023-ish. So Operation Sindoor, Mahadev, wo sab nahi dikhaya, which I was hoping for, quite honestly. Enough seeds were planted about the Khalistan problem in both Dhurandhar 1 and 2. And I really feel like that should have some sort of conclusive thing. I don't know, a full-fledged movie or a movie with more of that and that issue being addressed, because we also know that some unknown men situations have happened across the Atlantic. So, they've left it open-ended. Ab dekhte hain wo decide karte hain ya nahi. And now it is actually late at night. I have gone through the movie, but I still have more thoughts about the performances and a lot of other things. So what I will do, mainly about each of the actors and characters and performances, what this movie means for the overall landscape and the industry, and yeah, just a lot of the other conversation around the movie that I want to get into, and I will record that tomorrow. You may see it in this video or you may see it in another video. I don't know yet, but I'm ending this recording here today. It has taken a lot out of me. If I feel like I missed out something, I'll say it in the next video. But yes, until then, bye.